Good afternoon, Lynchburg Hornets fans. We're getting set for national championship action from Cedar Rapids, Iowa. It's game 2 in a best-of-3 series between Johns Hopkins and the University of Lynchburg Hornets. Kyle Haney hanging out with you. It has been a dream season. It has been a dream of a trip out here to the land of the tall corn in the Midwest, this wonderful city of Cedar Rapids, Iowa. We've had such a blast outside of the stadium, and the action in the stadium has lived up to everything we thought it would. Let's try to set the stage for you here. We're still about 10 minutes away from first pitch, but we wanted to come on a little early and talk about how we got to this point. Let's go back to yesterday. 24 hours ago, Lynchburg beats Johns Hopkins 5-2 in game 1 of this best 2 out of 3 series. So Lynchburg gets the jump early with a 3-run victory, and it was another complete game for Lynchburg. Zach Potts, 9 innings strong. He gave up 7 hits, 0 earned runs for Zach Potts, and he didn't walk anybody. 0 walks, 0 hit batters, no freebies issued by Zach Potts. He only struck out 2, so he really leaned on the defense, as Zach Potts so often does, and he joined that complete game in Cedar Rapids club. That was something that Wesley Arrington and Brandon Pond had done before, earlier in this week. So Zach Potts becomes the 3rd straight Lynchburg pitcher to toss a complete game in a victory. Lynchburg has won 4 times in this tournament. Zach Potts is the pitcher of record for 2 of those wins. Zach Potts got the win in game 1 on Friday against Wisconsin Lacrosse. He gets a win yesterday against Johns Hopkins, sets his team up. They are now 1 win away. And let's talk about the offense from yesterday as well. 2 more hits from Eric Hyatt. He drove in 2. Gavin Collins with 2 singles and 2 RBI. It was Avery Neves with a base hit. Ben Jones continued his very good tournament. He had a base hit. Lynchburg stole 5 bases. Lynchburg really back to the fact that they can do so many different things as a ball club and beat you in so many ways. 5 stolen bases yesterday. They did take 5 walks. They got hit 3 times. So those fall right in line with what we expect from Lynchburg offensively. Very on brand there for Coach Lucas Jones' squad. But this is a Lynchburg team. They have that vibe. The vibes have been high all season long. Confidence has been high all season long. And this postseason run, it hasn't taken a dip. If anything, the confidence has grown. And I think it makes perfect sense because you're now beating these other teams that have resumes and 40-win seasons. You're beating other conference champs. You're beating regional champs. You're beating super regional champs. So why wouldn't the confidence grow even more and more? These Lynchburg guys know they can play with the best in the country. They know they are the best in the country, and there's only 1 game standing between them and a trophy that says that. 1 game away from a national championship. The 2023 Division III national champion will be crowned today. The situation for Johns Hopkins is they need to win both of these games today. They have to win game 1 to force that if necessary game. So that is the situation for the Blue Jays. We know they are going to bring a lot of fight. We know they are a talented team. They will have their ace on the mound today. We will talk about that man, Gabriel Romano, a bit. He is very good. Lynchburg starting pitcher, well, he's one of those guys in that complete game in Cedar Rapids club. That'll be Brandon Pond. Pondo took the ball on Saturday in a win against East Texas Baptist University, and all he did was throw the best game that he's tossed all season and perhaps in his career. It was 9 innings on Saturday from Brandon Pond. He gave up 3 earned runs on 4 hits. He struck out 9 and only walked 2. If you get something like that again from Brandon Pond, you figure you got a really great chance to win this ball game. The bullpen is completely rested for Lynchburg. They have only thrown 2 innings so far in this tournament, and you have to go all the way back to Friday to find the work from Jack Batchmore and Mason McDowell. Those guys will be obviously factoring into the bullpen plan if Lynchburg does need to go to some relief options. And there's some other great options in there as well for Lynchburg. The Lynchburg Hornets come into the game at 47-7. It's an identical record for Johns Hopkins at 47-7. So not a lot of separation between these two very, very good ball clubs. Lynchburg is 14-2 in postseason play. When you want to find the last time Lynchburg lost, you have to go back to May 21st. That was down in the Rocky Mount Regional. Lynchburg lost 8-4 to Lebanon Valley. Johns Hopkins is actually now 7-3 in their last 10. They lost to Lynchburg yesterday. Combine that with a loss against Baldwin Wallace earlier in the tournament, which is a little bit tricky for some folks because they see double elimination tournament, or the classic baseball style is double elimination. Well, it's double elimination in bracket play, and then when you win your bracket, then you get to this championship series, best 2 out of 3 situation, which Lynchburg holds the 1-game lead. So if you're a Hornets fan, you like that. You like only needing to win 1 game in 2 tries. That's why that first game is so important. But it's not a championship winner in the first game. You can't win the national title in that first game. But I like where Lynchburg is set up. A lot of coaches will tell you, you don't want to give the other team any momentum. You don't want to treat this first ball game today, game 2 in the series, as just a ho-hum or some kind of game that, if we win, it's great, but if we don't, no big deal. We got one more. You don't really want to play with your back to the wall if you're the Lynchburg Hornets. Now, teams will lose that game 2 and then come back, bounce back, and lose or win game 3 all the time. There's plenty of teams that have done that. That happens all the time in baseball. In fact, Johns Hopkins did that in bracket play where they lost to Baldwin Wallace, and then they turned around and won the nightcap game to get in this championship series. So there's a lot at stake, obviously. There is a lot at stake. A big trophy could be coming back to the Hive on Lakeside Drive. It's a historic season no matter what happens today. Let's make that perfectly clear. 47 wins for Coach Lucas Jones' squad. This is the first time a team from the Old Dominion Athletic Conference has played in the National Championship Series, or if you go back to the days when it was just a national championship game. So Lynchburg has already made history. It's already an unforgettable season that I think any of us who watched or listened to any of this season are going to remember. So many great moments when you think back to the beginning of the year, the things Lynchburg was doing, the middle of the year where we would have walk-off wins and close wins, and it was Jack Batchmore racking up saves and the incredible defense, a defense that leads the nation in double plays, Avery Neves doing his Avery Neves things, the freshmen that have come on, guys like Brandon Garcia and Ben Jones and Sean Pokerock, who will all be in the starting lineup again today. The veterans, the 4- and 5-year players that have been around. They went through the COVID season. They went through all the things associated with that. They've stuck around. They continue to play baseball, and they continue to play at a high level. And that's another thing worth pointing out. You play at a high level throughout the whole season, so you're ready in these postseason games. Some teams try to flip a switch. Some teams just throw the stuff out in those early March games and play, and they say, we'll figure it out as the year goes on. Lynchburg has been playing at a very high level all season, and I think it has absolutely paid off in this stretch run. And it always pays off because of the seeding. Think about Lynchburg getting to play Shenandoah in that super regional series in Lynchburg at Bank of the James Stadium. If you lose one more regular season game, the roles might be reversed. Lynchburg might have to go to Winchester. Then all of a sudden, who knows what can happen there. National anthem time from PG Cares Field in Cedar Rapids. We will pause for just a moment, and we're coming back with the first pitch in Game 2 of the National Championship Series next on LHSN. another fine rendition of the national anthem here at Veterans Memorial Stadium in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. We've had a nice mix this tournament of some live singers and then also some recorded versions of the national anthem. Really is a great fan experience here. I don't know if you'll ever get a chance to take in a ball game at PG Cares Field, Veterans Memorial Stadium, but if you do, it's worth it. It's a great setup here in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. They get the thing right when it comes to putting on a baseball game, and our LHSN team has been getting it right all season long. This postseason, they have been delivering nothing but the best, much like this Lynchburg Hornets baseball team. They have been finding ways to win on this trip. Lately, it has been the 3 complete games, but the offense has certainly been a factor. You can't deny that. Some great performances individually from Lynchburg, and then also as a team. That offensive game plan, I think, has impressed a lot of people. No home runs yet in this tournament for either of these 2 ball clubs, interestingly enough. And Johns Hopkins came into the tournament with a nation-leading 110 home runs. So that's been interesting to watch, the dynamic there of teams playing in different ballparks, facing good pitching. How do you adjust your hitting plan? Or perhaps you don't adjust your hitting plan at all. Maybe just stick with what's been working. For Lynchburg, a lot has been working. They will wear the red tops today. White pants, black hat, red bill on the ball cap. Mix of white, black, and red cleats all the way around the diamond for Lynchburg. And let's set the defense around the diamond. The starting pitcher will be Brandon Pond, 5-1 on the season with a 2.73 earned run average. Those stats do factor in his complete game victory on Saturday against ETBU. Battery mate will be Holden Fiedler. Holden Fiedler has caught every inning of this tournament for Lynchburg. He hasn't quite caught every inning of the postseason, but it's darn close for Holden Fiedler. He is putting his body on the line for his ball club. Had a great chat with him at breakfast the other day, and he is just such a likable dude. Can't wait to try to tee it up with him on the link somewhere. On the infield for Lynchburg at first base, it's Eric Hyatt. Second will be Ben Jones, his high school teammate. Plays shortstop, that's Brandon Garcia. Gavin Collins manning the hot corner for Lynchburg. Around the outfield, left to right, it's the All-American Avery Neves. Carson Atkins patrols center. And the key man from Keysville, Jackson Harding, in right field. Brandon Pond, right-handed starter on the bump. He struck out 57 this season. Compare that to only 21 walks. Batters hitting just .220 off Pondo. Missed most of last season with injury. And in the build-up to the game on Saturday, I was saying Brandon Pond is back. Yes, he is back. He is officially all the way back after that complete game performance on Saturday to get Lynchburg a much-needed win. They're all much-needed at this stage of the game. It's not an elimination game for Lynchburg right here. Remember, they have 2 tries to get 1 victory. Here comes the starting lineup, batting order for Johns Hopkins. It is an elimination game for the Blue Jays. Stumbled over that fun word. The Blue Jays must win this to force the if-necessary game. Leadoff man is Matthew Cooper. He's got 24 homers on the season. Dylan Souvenir bats second. Sean Stour, the third baseman, hitting third. Sam Frank, the catcher, in the cleanup spot. Trip Myers, who had 2 hits yesterday, will bat fifth. Swing and a miss early for Matthew Cooper. Caleb Sear, the DH, hits sixth. Jimmy Stevens, the second baseman, seventh. Dylan Whitney, the shortstop, eighth. He's having an outstanding trip to Cedar Rapids. 8 hits in this College World Series. And then the 9-hole hitter is Sam Browning. Brandon Pond has hit Matthew Cooper. It was a first pitch swing from Cooper, and then the second one kind of just barely grazed his back as it was going behind him. So there's the first base runner of the contest for any ball club. And it's Johns Hopkins hitting in the top of the first inning. Kyle Haney hanging out with you on the Lynchburg Hornets Sports Network. We are underway here from PG Cares Field in Cedar Rapids. Pond jumps into the stretch, the set position with a runner on first. Cooper is a threat to run, although the numbers are actually not that high for your leadoff man there from Johns Hopkins. Just a couple stolen bases on the season so far. Here's Pond, fastball, outside, misses, and the count goes to 2-0 on Dylan Souvenir. He's riding an 18-game hitting streak. Souvenir was 1 for 5 yesterday. And I mentioned there is just so many numbers you can refer to at this stage in the season. You can talk about what the ball clubs did yesterday. You can talk about what the teams and the individuals have done here in Cedar Rapids. You got the playoff numbers, the postseason numbers, and then you got the season numbers and the career numbers. There's almost too many numbers at this stage in the game, but they do tell some of the story, don't they, baseball fans? 2-1 count here on Dylan's Souvenir. He'll have to wait. It's another pickoff attempt from Brandon Pond. Mini scouting report on Brandon Pond. He's very good. Right-hander, stands about 6'1", throws hard in the upper 80s, can touch 90, and the hard slider. That is his pitch. That hard slider that'll come in mid to upper 80s. Hard to see, hard to hit. And all teams have had trouble with that Brandon Pond slider ever since he learned it. Got a 3-1 count on left-handed hitting Dylan's Souvenir. Here's the pitch from Pond. That misses upstairs. It's ball 4. All options are available out of the bullpen. And I'm not mentioning that because Brandon Pond has allowed a couple base runners. It's just worth saying that Lynchburg's bullpen is very rested in every sense of the word. Lynchburg in the last 3 games has only needed 3 pitchers. Potts, 9 innings yesterday. Wes Arrington, 9 innings the game before. And then this man, Brandon Pond, 9 innings on Saturday. It is Thursday, so he's had a full 4 days to rest. I think Brandon Pond probably feels pretty great out there. And as I said, completely back from injury. He's been pitching pain-free all season long. It just took him some time to ramp back up and get the arm strength back to where it needed to be. 0-1 count on Sean Stour. Stour, line drive, one hopper to Ben Jones. He fields, throws to Brandon Garcia. Garcia missed it at second base, and that is going to be probably an error on Brandon Garcia. He was hustling over to cover the bag for a potential double play. We know Lynchburg leads the nation in that category, but you can't take anything for granted in the game of baseball, and especially not at a big stage like this. Lynchburg has performed on the big stage all season and all postseason and the entire trip here in Cedar Rapids, but it doesn't mean they've played perfect. They've had some errors. Lynchburg had 4 errors yesterday, and they will call that an E6 on Brandon Garcia. Did hit the leather, and I think most coaches and Brandon Garcia would probably tell you, if it hits my glove, I should pull it in. The throw from Ben Jones was slightly to the non-glove side of Brandon Garcia, which would have been the right side of his body. But it does go down as an error, and now the bases are loaded. Hit by pitch, walk, E6. That's how things have started for Johns Hopkins. See if Brandon Pond can get out of this. A small victory might be getting out, just giving up 1 run. Here's a weak ground ball to the shortstop Garcia. Flips to Ben Jones for 1. He fires across for the second. Safe at first. A run does score. Lynchburg does record the first out of the inning. It was actually a good sliding stop by Eric Hyatt. The throw from Ben Jones was slightly to the home plate side of the first base bag, and Ben Jones had to scamper to take that one away. So it's an out, but the first run of the game is across for Johns Hopkins. Took them until the 8th inning to score yesterday. And Lynchburg, just for record, hasn't trailed very much in this tournament. Need to double check. I don't think they've trailed at all. Bunt attempt by Tripp Myers that actually hit his body before he made it out of the batter's box. So it's just a strike. Runners on first and third with 1 out. We're in the top of the first inning. The hitter is Tripp Myers. He rides a 13-game hitting streak. He was 2 for 4 yesterday. Yeah, Lynchburg obviously never trailed against Johns Hopkins yesterday. Hornets didn't trail in the second game against ETBU. I'm just scanning box scores as Brandon Pond delivers one in the dirt. Count is even at 1-1 with 1 out. Lynchburg put the 5 spot up in the first game against ETBU and never looked back. They won that game 8-3. And against Wisconsin Lacrosse tied it up in the 6th inning, and then Lynchburg responded with 5 in that one. Foul ball sent backwards by Tripp Myers. So this is officially now the first time Lynchburg has trailed in their time in Cedar Rapids here in the National Championship Tournament. First time Lynchburg has been down. They have been tied, but they have not been down until now. Umpire at first base is going to stop play. Brandon Pond was ready to pitch. The runner at first base was tying his shoe. The umpire there saw it and took a little bit of time notifying his colleagues out there. The other boys in blue, our umpires are actually sporting black today with the gray pants. Johns Hopkins, their uniform combo is a good one. Black top, light blue numbers, white trim. They've got the white pants to go along with white hats and white helmets. Pond set. 1-2 pitch coming. Swing and a miss. Brandon Pond got him for the second out of the inning. Don't know if it was the slider or maybe a changeup there from Brandon Pond, but it looked like he took pace off, and it was enough to get Trip Myers out in front. First strikeout of the game for Brandon Pond, and it's the second out of the inning. Still runners at first to third. Still a threat here, but as I said, feels like probably a small victory if Lynchburg can get out, only surrendering one run. After all, the bases were loaded with nobody out. It's runners on first and third right now with 2 outs. The hitter is Caleb Sear. Slider from Brandon Pond misses. Good stop by Holden Fiedler. It's a 1-0 count. We'll get a little roll call. Hellos, shout-outs, good afternoons. We'll have that coming for you in just a bit. Maybe top of the second inning, we'll get that cranked up. We know we have a lot of folks listening now and planning on listening in the future. Another slider, that missed from Brandon Pond. 2-0 count. That was a much better pitch, closer to the zone. On deck hitter is Jimmy Stevens, the second baseman, who was 0 for 3 yesterday. Infield, regular depth, Eric Hyatt holding the runner at first base. It is runners on first and third. There's a pitch from Brandon Pond. Also a miss, that one upstairs, and it's ball 3. 3-0 count for Caleb Sear. The legendary coach for Johns Hopkins is Bob Babb in his 44th season. Over 1,200 wins. I think it's closer to 1,300. There's a fastball from Brandon Pond that just missed the zone inside. And that's the second free pass he has issued in the game. Add that to a hit by pitch on the first batter of the game. That was Matthew Cooper, who did come around to score the run. Johns Hopkins leading 1-0. Jimmy Stevens is in the batter's box now, right-handed swinger, 0 for 3 yesterday. Pond's working from the stretch with bases loaded. Infield all the way back, regular depth. First pitch hacked by Jimmy Stevens will get fouled over the Johns Hopkins dugout. Outfield straightaway, medium deep. Flagpole is still at the moment, the flag on the flagpole rather. So not much wind here on a 71-degree day in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. This is the coolest day that we've had, at least since Lynchburg's been playing baseball. Slider, top of the zone for a strike, and now the count is 0-2. So here comes a big pitch from Brandon Pond. That's kind of redundant, isn't it? They're all big pitches at this point, especially with runners on base. Anytime you get in the stretch position, they all seem like big pitches in the postseason. Away target for Fiedler. Pond got it there, and it's a strikeout. Brandon Pond does get out of the inning, just surrendering the 1 run. Hopkins leaves the bases loaded. They're still looking for their first hit, but the Blue Jays on top after the first half of the first inning, 1-0. Lynchburg coming to swing it in the bottom of the first in Game 2 of the championship series here in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Here comes the leadoff man for Lynchburg, Brandon Garcia, trying to set the table again here in the bottom of the first inning. Lynchburg finds themselves trailing for the first time in this postseason, not the postseason rather, but this NCAA Baseball Championship Tournament here in Cedar Rapids. We started with 8 ball clubs in Cedar Rapids. We're down to the final 2. Just 2 left in Division III baseball right now. And they're going to try to settle it all here on this diamond, PG Cares Field at Veterans Memorial Stadium in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Brandon Garcia hits with an 0-1 count. The pitcher is Gabriel Romano, 10-1 on the season, 1.62 earned run average. He's got 3 complete games this year. Struck out 70, walked just 16. Just 16 free passes on the season. Brandon Garcia swings on this one over the right fielder's head. Yes, it is down. 2 hops off the ball. Turn and burn for Brandon Garcia. He'll stop at second base, and here comes the 7-iron celebration. Yeah, out of the bag and into the fairway. What a great start for Lynchburg. Not the golf team, but the Lynchburg Hornet baseball team. Leadoff double for Brandon Garcia. The guy his teammates call Hollywood. He's got the first hit of the ball game for either team. Johns Hopkins scored their 1 run on no hits. And now Brandon Garcia is in scoring position for his high school teammate. These are the 2 guys that Coach Lucas Jones calls Batman and Robin. It's Ben Jones, the second baseman for Lynchburg. Here's the pitch from Romano, fastball out of the zone for ball 1. What a start there for Brandon Garcia. Came into the game hitting .349. No hits yesterday, but a couple walks. Some classic table setter stuff for Brandon Garcia. Ben Jones, fastball upstairs, lays off, and it's ball 2. Romano pitches in the upper 80s. He's got a nice breaking ball, and he can throw the changeup in any count. And as I said, control is elite. Just 16 walks this season for Gabe Romano. Batter's hitting .228 off of him. He's threatening to walk Ben Jones right here, though. Fastball out of the zone wildly, and now the count is 3 balls and no strikes. Avery Neves waits on deck. Remember the lineup for Lynchburg: Garcia, Jones, Neves, Pokerock, Hyatt, Collins, Harding, Fiedler, and Atkins. Here's a 3-0 pitch to Ben Jones. That's a strike right there just above the knee, and now the count is 3-1. It's a lively fastball for Gabe Romano. You know, we heard upper 80s, maybe touch 90. Don't know if it's something with his action or his delivery, but it seems to really jump out of his hand, just giving it the eye test up here. Ben Jones, he gave it the eye test and whacked on one, but does send it foul, and the count is now full. Nobody out. Brandon Garcia in scoring position after a leadoff double. Infield for Johns Hopkins is regular depth. Second baseman maybe played Ben Jones slightly to pull, and that makes sense. They're giving Ben Jones a lot of gap in right center there. Garcia running, Jones swinging, foul ball. Nice jump there for Brandon Garcia. We don't see Lynchburg steal third base too much, but they did have 5 steals yesterday. 0 on game 1 for Lynchburg. 2 steals in their second game against ETBU. 3 steals in the third game against East Texas Baptist University, and then 5 yesterday against Johns Hopkins. This is the 5th game Lynchburg has played at PG Cares Field. Another foul ball for Ben Jones. Make that 3. Here with 2 strikes, spoiling some pitches. Ben Jones never looks bad when he swings it. He just never gets fooled. I'm not saying he doesn't swing and miss from time to time. Of course he does. It's baseball. He never seems to be out on that front foot or late, just always times it up. He will swing and miss at that one. That looked to be a changeup that might have just disappeared out of the zone from Gabe Romano. That's the first out of the inning. Ben Jones down on strikes, shares a little small word with Avery Neves as he walks up to the batter's box. Neves has been a big factor in this College World Series tournament so far. Big double yesterday off the base of the wall. Avery Neves is always going to be ready for the spotlight. He'll check swing and a breaking ball there from Romano. That's ball 1. We talk about those 12-6 curveballs. Romano, as a right-hander, when you look at the clock face, his is more like 11-5. Maybe even 10-4 when he gets around it a little bit more. But it's a good pitch. Ground ball from Avery Neves. Weakly hit. Tough play for the shortstop. Neves hustling down the line. Picked it. Great play over there at first base, but it looked like the first baseman came off the bag, and Coach Lucas Jones is now asking his dugout, should we use our review or not? He has made the signal. Coach Jones is going to talk to the home plate umpire and say, yeah, we'd like to use the review to see if he came off at first base or not. It was a really nice pick at first by Dylan Souvenir. He wears the glove on the right hand, so he's a southpaw. He's a lefty thrower, but glove on the right hand, and the throw was to that side, the outfield side of the bag from the shortstop Dylan Whitney. He did well to scoop it. He was really laying horizontal with the ground, parallel with the ground, I guess might be a better way to describe it, as he picked that ball. So did he keep a foot anchored on the bag or not? The umpires are all together in the infield. They actually have not even gone to look at the replay yet. And this is one that has kind of been interesting for some of our fans. We wonder what takes the umpires sometimes so long to decide whether they can review it or not. It seems like a reviewable play, at least to us anyway. Oh, they've just called him safe right away. They didn't even need to go to the review. All right. So that is still an option as well, and that's worth pointing out. In the regular season and even in the postseason up to this point, you do not have the option for review. The umpires just get together and talk about it and say, what'd you see? And so that seemed to be the case there. I think the umpires just got together and said, well, that's pretty obvious. Let's just call him safe right now. And now Coach Bob Babb from Johns Hopkins is going to come out. And, here's an interesting piece. Maybe Bob Babb could then review and just and make him take a look at it again. I don't know. It's kind of a weird one. And it has slowed play down a bit as Gabe Romano wants to heat the arm back up after this slightly long delay. Let's reset things. Lynchburg trails 1-0 in the bottom of the first inning. This is Game 2 of the championship series. First team to win 2, and Lynchburg won yesterday, 5-2 over Johns Hopkins from Baltimore, Maryland. So Lynchburg will only need to win 1 of 2 today. 2 chances to get 1 win for these Hornets. Johns Hopkins does lead 1-0. Brandon Pond did not surrender a hit, but he walked 2 and hit 1. The run came in on a 6-4 fielder's choice. We're getting some information on the specifics of those rules challenges from Tim LaDuca, and we may share that in just a little bit. Sean Pokerok got hit right in his wallet on a loose fastball from Gabe Romano. It was unclear at first whether the ball just went behind Sean Pokerok or whether it did actually graze his backside, and it's a hit by pitch. So the bases are loaded of Hornets now. Johns Hopkins had the bases loaded in the top of the first inning. Lynchburg has done the same in the bottom of the first. And here comes Eric Hyatt. He has delivered some clutch base hits this postseason, including a couple in the first inning here in Cedar Rapids. Thinking back to night 1 against Wisconsin Lacrosse, where he drove in a couple with a double. Eric Hyatt has been just on fire this postseason. Postseason average hovering right around 400, just under 400 for Eric Hyatt. In the trip to Cedar Rapids, he's 4 for 12 with 6 runs driven in. He scored 3 runs himself. Even got his first stolen base of the season yesterday. 2-0 count for Eric Hyatt. Romano struggling just a little bit to find the zone. The control normally impeccable. Let's see if he comes across to Eric Hyatt. Here's the pitch. That is a strike. Hard fastball. Scoreboard shows 90 for Gabe Romano. 2-1 count for Eric Hyatt. Right-handed hitter. Right-handed hitting sophomore from Woodbridge, Virginia. Bases full of Hornets. Here's the pitch to Hyatt. Swings on it. Slow roller, left side. Romano's going to try to field. One way to go with it. That's the first base to get Eric Hyatt. First baseman Souvenir does make a good play to cross the line and hang on for the out, but a run has scored. That is Brandon Garcia, who came home on the slow roller from Eric Hyatt. So should actually be an RBI in the book for Eric Hyatt. Another one of those. He's up to 7 driven in now in this Cedar Rapids trip to the baseball championships. And Gavin Collins, who had 2 hits yesterday. He's now got 51 on the season. Runners at second and third with 2 out for Lynchburg. Check swing from Hyatt. Neves is going to try to score. Ball popped out of the pitcher's mitt. Head first slide. Neves is in there. He got the left hand under the glove of Gabe Romano, and Lynchburg takes the lead. Lynchburg hadn't trailed any in this national championship tournament until the last inning. Well, they've only trailed for about 9 minutes or so here as Avery Neves scampers home on a ball that just hit the mitt of the catcher Sam Frank and popped out. It popped out and headed towards the first base side of foul territory, toward his own dugout. He scrambled after it quick. He had to know that Avery Neves was coming. He flipped it to Gabe Romano, the pitcher who was covering, but Avery Neves, too fast and too good of a slide. Gavin Collins, hard hit ball to third base. Nice grab there and throw across the diamond by the hot corner man, Sean Stour. But Lynchburg takes the lead back, 2-1. Hornets are on top. They get the leadoff double from Brandon Garcia, and they scratch two across to take a one-run lead after one complete. It's Game 2 of Championship Series play between the Hornets and the Blue Jays here from Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Well, there's some classic Lynchburg baseball again. A double to lead off for Brandon Garcia. Avery Neves gets on with his speed, hustling down the line, forces some pressure on the defense. It was officially E6. Sean Pokerot got hit by a pitch. We know Lynchburg does that a lot. Eric Haidt gets him in with a sort of a weak ground ball that the pitcher fielded. And then Avery Neves scores on a ball from the catcher that just popped out of the mitt. So Lynchburg scoring in a variety of ways as usual. That is the 12th time they have been hit now in 5 games. Really 4 games in 1 inning. And Lynchburg swinging it right around 259 as a team in 5 games here in this national championship series. Slider from Brandon Pond missed. It's a 1-0 count to the shortstop, Dylan Whitney. He's got 8 hits in 5 games for Johns Hopkins. This will be their 6th game of the tournament. They have had to play one more because they had that loss to Baldwin Wallace. But the slate wiped clean here in the championship series. Whitney pushes one into right field. Jackson Harding is there. Right place, right time, all the time for Jackson Harding, and he will make the grab for the first out of the inning. Yes, so Johns Hopkins is 7-3 in their last 10 games. They lost to Lynchburg yesterday. They lost to Baldwin Wallace earlier in the tournament. And they lost a game in super regional play. They're 47-7 on the season, which is the exact same record as Lynchburg. 47 wins, 7 losses. Both of these teams have never been beaten twice by the same ball club, if that makes sense. They've both lost 7 games, but it's to 7 different teams. Nobody has been able to beat these teams twice this year, but that will change by day's end. Lynchburg can win 1 game. Johns Hopkins would have to win 2. Swing and a miss from Sam Browning, the 9-hole hitter. He's facing an 0-2 count. Oh, good spot there from Brandon Pond, just off the plate. And now the count is 1 ball and 2 strikes. Leadoff man Matthew Cooper waits on deck. He got hit by a pitch in his first at bat. Pond pitches to Browning. Breaking ball upstairs for ball 2. We're in the top of the 2nd inning. Lynchburg leads 2-1. They've only trailed for about 9 minutes, in my estimation, in this tournament. Here's the windup and kick from Brandon Pond. Inside fastball. It hit him. It hit Sam Browning. Barely grazed the jersey. There was not a lot of contact there, but Browning knew it. He came sprinting out of the batter's box, tossing his gear and the aluminum over to the dugout. So Matthew Cooper, another man that has been hit in this game, steps in the right-handed batter's box. 1 out in the top of the 2nd inning. Hopkins scored 1 in their half on no hits. Lynchburg answered with 2 runs on a double and some other, not strangeness, but just things that happen in a baseball game. Ways to score a run. Ways that Lynchburg has used all season long to score runs. Great base running, speed on the bases, but then also IQ on the bases as well. and putting the ball in play, pressuring the defense. Swing and a miss from Matthew Cooper. Another one where Brandon Pond pulled the string on a slider, it looked like. So hard to identify. Coaches will tell you, look for a dot on the slider. There's a spot in the ball where the seams will come together, and it will look like a dot in the baseball, usually the upper left part of the baseball. Cooper will belt one, but foul. Fan almost made a nice grab over there in foul territory. But on those sliders, it will look like a dot in the upper left part of the ball when a pitcher throws that slider. But I think a lot of times with Brandon Pond, you don't see that. I think Zach Potts and Wesley Arrington's sliders are the same way. I think they're really hard to see. Pond went to it again. Cooper was able to stay alive. Fouled that one over to the other side. 1-2 count. Brandon Pond facing Matthew Cooper. Worth revisiting again how good Brandon Pond was on Saturday against ETBU. 9 innings strong, gave up 4 hits, 3 earned runs. He struck out 9 and only walked 2. He was slicing and dicing. I said Brandon Pond was cooking. Back in the kitchen today, hopefully, if you're a Lynchburg fan, long run for Ben Jones. The right fielder, Jackson Harding, will call him off and make the grab in shallow right center field. Second out of the inning. They've both touched Jackson Harding's glove out there in right. And now lefty swinger Dylan Souvenir hits. He is 0 for 0 with a walk. Brandon Pond in that game against ETBU, who could really swing it, by the way, only gave up 1 double. That's another trait of Lynchburg's pitching staff in this national tournament and all season. They don't give up a ton of extra base hits. They keep the ball down. It's a lot of hard stuff at the knees. A lot of pitches that move either away from you or into you. That's the other thing with Lynchburg. They trust their stuff so much, and when you say stuff, you're talking about action and velocity on the pitch. Runner will go. Good throw from Fiedler. We got to play at second. Lynchburg gets him. Don't run on Holden Fiedler. He's got the cannon back there, and he's not afraid to use it. Nice cover and swipe tag by Brandon Garcia. The inning will end that way. More great defense from the Lynchburg Hornets. They lead 2-1 after 1.5 here in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Game 2 of 3 in national championship play. It's game 2 of 3 in championship series play. It's actually the tail end of what's been a long tournament, and the crew here between the NCAA, the American Rivers Conference, which is hosting it, and then our umpires, our staff at the ballpark. It's been a long, long week, and so many people have put a lot of hard work in. There's a lot of people to thank. But I did say we wanted to get to some hellos and some shout-outs at some point here as Jackson Harding takes ball 1. We would really be well served to wait for a mound visit or maybe another one of those replays, but we'll try to get the ball rolling here as Jackson Harding tries to get the ball rolling again, and an inning started for Lynchburg. 2-0 count on Jackson Harding. Looked like Gabe Romano missed with a couple fastballs. Romano now working exclusively from the set position, the stretch position that you would get in with nobody on base, or with runners on base, rather. And, typically a pitcher will work from the windup, the extra step back and all those things. But you do see a lot of pitchers not even use a windup anymore, and that includes starting pitchers as well. Harding will foul 1 away, and now the count is even at 2-2. All right, here we go. Big shout-out to Ron Lane, who is back in Manassas. He was here earlier with us in Cedar Rapids, but he had to leave. And unfortunately, he didn't get to see in person Cam Lane getting hit in his pinch hit appearance yesterday. I think Jackson Harding, missile up the gut right there. That went by Romano's foot. Shortstop actually made a valiant effort at it, but it was hit well too hard from Jackson Harding to catch. That's a base knock, second one of the game. Sorry, Ron Lane, your shout-out got interrupted there as Jackson Harding just smoked one. Back off the mound there. It actually hit the side of the mound, and that actually gave the shortstop a chance because of the way the mound is sloped. It redirected it to the shortstop a little bit, but again, too much velocity on that one to be caught. Holden Fiedler is the catcher. Looks like he's ready to swing away. I thought it might be the sacrifice bunt time for Holden Fiedler. We've seen that quite a few times in this tournament. But he's a capable hitter of his own, hitting .306 on the season. Fiedler's one of those guys with more walks than strikeouts on the year as well. 19 free passes to only 17 punch-outs for Holden Fiedler as a hitter. And how about that throw? Quick release from Fiedler, right on target with the throw to get the caught stealing to end the last inning. Fiedler is swinging away. Sends that one back into the concession stand area. Watch out. 1-1 count for Holden Fiedler. So Ron Lane back in Manassas. The Rice family in Manassas, including the entire team at the office there at Manassas Public Schools. I'm calling them the Golden Girls. They look like a fun bunch. They look like they have a great time there in that office with Mama Rice and the crew up there. And Chase Rice is probably listening as well. I'm still playing some miniature golf sometime, guys. Foul ball from Holden Fiedler. 1-2 count coming up. We'll get the Gerke family in there next. Bill and Stephen and Chrissy and Caitlin, the sister-in-law. And here's the pitch to Fiedler. Took it for a ball. Harding read that the ball was in the dirt. Took off, slides in safely. There's that dirt ball read I always talk about. It was just a breaking ball in the dirt. Fiedler sees that, Jackson Harding rather, sees it's going to be down. And he starts taking off when he knows the ball is going to hit the dirt. It caroms off the catcher's chest protector. He has to scramble to pick it up. And Harding with enough speed to beat the throw into second. They actually called that a stolen base. A lot of times official scores won't give you the stolen base unless you're running on the pitch. But in this case, they gave Harding a stolen base, and good for him. He deserved it. And the one we left out from the Gerke family was Ben Gerke. We were told he would not be listening the other day when Caroline came on, but Ben was listening. So hello, Ben. Foul ball from Holden Fiedler. This at bat has been so long, it's encompassed all the hellos so far. Papa Gerke, I guess, is listening. I might be getting that wrong, but there's a grandfather in there that's got us tuned in. Say hello to Caroline Inskeep. We're trying to get you a shirt, Inskeep. Don't worry. Some of our other broadcasters, Gates, Watson, Graham, that's 3 different people there. It's not a law firm. 2-2 pitch to Holden Fiedler. Oh, he ropes this ball over the shortstop's head. Let's see if Harding tries to score. Left fielder got to it quickly. Coach Lucas Jones throws the stop sign up at third base, and it's runners on first and third for Lynchburg. Offense coming alive. How about that? 7 and 8 hole hitters with just some rockets off the bat. Those were not dink and dump type of singles. Those were high exit velocity from Jackson Harding and Holden Fiedler. And that is back to how good this Lynchburg team is. The bottom of their order is not a soft spot. It is not a weakness. It is a strength. Avery Neves called this man in the batter's box, Carson Atkins, the best 9-hole hitter in the country. I tend to agree with him. A little biased. And I'm sure there's some other people I'd love to see the numbers and talk about and get in the conversation. But I think Carson Atkins takes a back seat to nobody. 0-1 count on Atkins. He's hitting with runners on first and third. Third baseman even with the bag. Maybe a bunt situation here for Atkins. Nope, he'll swing it. Check swing as a breaking ball hits the outer portion of the plate for strike 2. Now the count is 0-2 on Carson Atkins. Leadoff man Brandon Garcia waits on deck. He's 1 for 1 with a double. Scored the first run of the ball game for Lynchburg. Lynchburg does lead 2-1 in the bottom of the second inning. Romano set at the waist, looks in, fires, breaking ball. Good slide and block from Sam Frank to keep that one off the backstop and keep Jackson Harding at third base. Runner at first is Holden Fiedler. Back-to-back singles for Lynchburg. It's hits 2 and 3 of the game to go along with that leadoff double from Brandon Garcia. Romano looking in again. Light blue hat. Now he fires. Ground ball. Left side for Atkins. Harding has to stay. Throw to first, and they will get the out there. Holden Fiedler moves up 90 feet, but solid defensive work from Johns Hopkins. Third baseman was in. Harding had to hold to see if he made the play successfully, and the third baseman, Sean Stour, did. So it's a 5-3 put out in the books. Runner did move up. That's Holden Fiedler at second. Now joining Jackson Harding as 2 Hornets in scoring position. Brandon Garcia looking for the first pitch from Romano. Fastball just outside and low. 1-0 count on Brandon Garcia. The crew on the trip in Africa with the Lynchburg women's soccer team is all listening. And that includes Natalie Deacon, Emma Hyatt. Our umpire has issued a warning to Johns Hopkins dugout. It looks like they were not happy about the close call there on the balls and strikes. And that's always a no-no in baseball. You're not supposed to argue balls and strikes with the umpire. So the umpire has walked out and given the signal and made the official note on his lineup card. No more of that from the Blue Jay dugout. 1-0 count on Brandon Garcia. Garcia up the middle, slashes hard, and it's by the shortstop again. Harding will score. Fiedler pounds the bag, but then taps the brakes. Brandon Garcia, he got a little wide turn out there at first base, but he gets back in time. Brandon Garcia is pumped. He is 2 for 2, and now he's driven in Lynchburg's third run of the ball game. This Hornet offense is heating up. We know about the big innings from Lynchburg, but maybe you pair the big innings together. Maybe it's 4 or 5 runs across 2 innings, something like that. That's what Lynchburg is building right now. And Ben Jones, oh yeah, he's the kind of guy who can make a big difference. Struck out in his first appearance. Good monster hack at that one, but it's high and strike 1. Ben Jones, 23 extra base hits on the season. Breakdown on that one is 12 doubles, 3 triples, including 1 here in Cedar Rapids, and 8 home runs. Hitting with 1 out and runners on first and third. This will be pitch number 40 for Gabe Romano. Foul ball from Ben Jones. So Nat and Emma are enjoying things along with the Lynchburg soccer team. The LaDuca family is enjoying things, even despite the haze from the wildfires in New York. Hawkeye is enjoying things. Hawkeye better be listening. I'm told Hawkeye is a big-time sports fan. Romano is set. 0-2 count on Ben Jones. Swing and a miss. He got him. Second out of the inning. Second time Ben Jones has struck out. And Avery Neves now up with runners on first and third. 2 outs here in the bottom of the second. Lynchburg has padded the lead slightly. They're on top 3-1. Hornets scored 2 runs on 1 hit in the first inning. This is so far 1 run on 3 hits here in inning number 2. Avery Neves has been fantastic in all the interviews and the press conferences and just hanging around in the hotel. Brandon Garcia will run. Breaking ball in the dirt. Pump fake. Watch out. Holden Fiedler might get hung out to dry, but the ball hit him on the pickoff attempt. That was dangerous there from Holden Fiedler. I don't think he meant to get that far away from third base. It was first to third steal situation, and a lot of teams will use that pump fake from the catcher. And the catcher in this case, Sam Frank, did give a hard pump fake at Brandon Garcia running to second, and Fiedler got slightly fooled by that. Luckily, the pickoff attempt actually hit Fiedler's body as he was going back. Check swing from Avery Neves, and that's a strike, 1-1. So I talk about Holden Fiedler putting his body on the line as a catcher. He'll have another bump and a bruise from that baseball hitting him on a throw. 1-1 delivery coming up to Avery Neves. Breaking ball in the dirt again. Good slide and stop from Sam Frank. My buddy, my guy, Matt Nolan's got us tuned in. Matt Nolan, who is a Lynchburg alum and also a Bridgewater alum. He's an ODAC guy through and through. And this is the first Old Dominion Athletic Conference team that has played for a baseball national championship. Been plenty in the College World Series, but never at this national championship game. So Matt Nolan is definitely plugged in and ready to go. It sounds like Dell the Hornet is in attendance. We'll touch on that again here in just a minute. Deuce is wild in the second inning. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs to Avery Neves. Here's the pitch from Romano. Ground ball up the middle. Shortstop going to get pressed into action again. He'll slide towards the bag throw, and they just nip Avery Neves at first base. So Lynchburg leads a couple stranded But they do score one. It's a 3-1 Lynchburg lead over Johns Hopkins in Game 2 of the National Championship Series. Lynchburg is one win away from a national championship. We're getting set for the top of the third inning in just a moment here from PG Cares Field in Cedar Rapids. Through 2 innings, Lynchburg has 3 runs on 4 hits. They have left 3 stranded, all 3 in scoring position. But a successful start, again, for the Lynchburg Hornets. They've had a lot of good starts all season long. That's another one. I catch myself every phrase I'm going to say here in Cedar Rapids or in the postseason. And then I think about it, and I think, well, Lynchburg's doing this all year, and this is not really anything different. Eric Hyatt mentioned that in one of those post-game press conferences. It was kind of a comical situation as Brandon Pond bounces one in to Souvenir. It's a 1-1 count. But it was a kind of a comical situation because everybody was wondering about Lynchburg scoring all their runs with not many hits and all those walks. It was 10 walks and 6 hit batters as Avery Neves will have to go to the foul line and warning track. He can't pull it in. That's off the wall. Bounced at the base of the wall, and that's going to be a stand-up double for Dylan Souvenir. Long run for Avery Neves. He was in the left center gap with the left-handed swinger, Dylan Souvenir, and Souvenir hit that one down the line about 15 feet off of the foul line. Avery Neves really gave good chase and jumped for it, but could not pull it in as it bounces off the base of the wall. But just finishing the thought here before we lock in on this action, Lynchburg in that first win against ETBU, that was where Brandon Pond threw his complete game. They had 10 walks and 6 hit by pitch, and some of the press was sort of baffled by that, how Lynchburg could win a game that way with only getting 3 or 4 base hits. And Eric Hyatt said, yeah, it's not really a huge surprise. It's kind of what we've been doing. High fly ball. This one should be easier for Avery Neves in left field. He does move slightly to the foul line, catches it, no tag at second base, and that will be the first out of the inning. But the term I've been using so much is resourceful. Lynchburg uses all their resources offensively to beat you. Whatever you're going to let them do, they will do. If that means stealing 5 bases like yesterday against Johns Hopkins, they're going to do that. If that means you don't throw strikes, they'll take the walks. If that means you throw one in their batter's box, they'll get hit by pitch. And if you do throw strikes, well, they'll either bang it around and get you a bunch of singles, like Coach Lucas Jones, his favorite phrase, death by 1,000 cuts. He calls that. They'll knock out 13 or 14 singles, or they'll have a game where they do bang out some extra base hits, the doubles, the triples, the homers. Lynchburg's got it all. They pressure the defense in so many different ways. The other phrasing that me and my buddy Austin Higley, who might be listening in Mississippi, like to use is Lynchburg, they ask so many questions of the opposing team. How are you going to get them out? How are you going to beat guys like Brandon Pond on the mound? What are you going to do? What's your game plan? Because Lynchburg has a game plan, and it's a great one. And they've got multiple game plans. They go through plan B, C, and D, and E, all in the midst of one baseball game sometimes. Lynchburg will go through those things. They will find a way to beat you. 1-1 count as it's Brandon Pond pitching to Sam Frank. Sam Frank has got a 44-game on-base streak going. Impressive stuff. 1-1 count here on the catcher for Johns Hopkins. Swing, and he fouls it back. and now the count is 1 ball and 2 strikes. There's 1 out. We're in the top of the 3rd inning. Lynchburg leads 3-1. And Lynchburg only needs to win 1 to hoist the national championship trophy. Take a big trophy back to the Hive on Lakeside Drive. That's what's at stake here. History-making stuff already, but a chance to really put the exclamation point on it all. 1-2 delivery coming up from Brandon Pond. Long hold. Now he throws. Just missed the zone. Wide left, and the count is even at 2-2. Trip Myers, the center fielder who hits left-handed, is on deck. There's 1 out. Leadoff double from Dylan Souvenir has him stationed right there in the middle of the diamond at the moment. This will be pitch number 45 for Brandon Pond. Here it comes, and that hit another batter. Just barely grazed the arm of Sam Frank. So there's some resourcefulness from Johns Hopkins. They've gotten hit 3 times. Oh, they have called him out. They have called him out. They have changed the call, and they have called Sam Frank out. They have decided that Sam Frank, in the midst of trying to get hit, leaned in. He has been called out. Brandon Pond was kind of gesturing about that. It'll go down as a strikeout. I don't know if it's a strikeout looking or swinging, but who cares right now. Coach Bob Babb's going to get an explanation from the home plate umpire. And it's interesting because Lynchburg fans may remember this with Jackson Harding. Jackson Harding thought he got hit by a pitch earlier in this tournament. That was on day 1 against Wisconsin Lacrosse in an 8-6 win for Lynchburg. So a very similar circumstance there. And in fact, the replay, Jackson Harding, it showed he was actually trying to get out of the way. But as I always say, umpires are human. It's a difficult job. I bet if you ask Johns Hopkins fans watching right now, they might say Sam Frank was trying to get out of the way of that one. But it is a strikeout, and it's the 2nd out of the inning in strange fashion. 3rd punch out for Brandon Pond in this ball game so far. 1-0 count to the left-handed swinging Trip Myers. 2 hits yesterday against Zach Potts, who pitched masterfully. Probably need to revisit that a few more times, honestly. 5-2 victory yesterday for Lynchburg over Johns Hopkins in Game 1 of this championship series. 9 innings strong from Zach Potts. He only struck out 2, but he walked none, gave up 7 hits, scattered 7 hits. They were truly scattered all around the game. Johns Hopkins scored 1 in the 8th, 1 in the 9th. There's a ball roped down the line. This is going to score Souvenir. Jackson Harding gobbles it up and then throws into second base. Far too deep for a play at home, and Johns Hopkins has their 2nd run of the game across. Single from from Trip Myers scores Dylan Souvenir. That will extend Trip Myers' hitting streak to 14 games in a row now with a base knock. Caleb Sear is the designated hitter. He's 0 for 0 with a walk. So it's not quite all smooth sailing here for Brandon Pond. He's given up 2 hits. He's walked 2 and hit 2. Thought he hit a 3rd batter, but Sam Frank was erased on the strikeout. In the umpire's opinion, he leaned in trying to get hit by a pitch. So let's see if Brandon Pond can get back in the kitchen and cook something up right here. Runner on first base with 2 outs. Couple throws to keep an eye on Trip Myers, the center fielder for Johns Hopkins. Coming into the game, he is 14 for 16 stolen base-wise. So Trip Myers is a running threat. Ground ball by Sear is foul. Got good wood on it. Could not keep it between the lines. 0-1 count. This will be pitch number 50 for Brandon Pond. Sometimes when you got that pitch count on the board, you tend to overuse it and over-talk about it. We'll try to leave it alone until Pond maybe gets closer to the century mark, perhaps. Zach Potts' pitch count was low yesterday. That had people in awe. But again, when you don't walk a lot of people, when you pitch to contact, when you get a free-swinging team like Johns Hopkins, who does swing at the first pitch and the second pitch a lot, the pitch count does tend to stay down a bit. Brandon Pond with a couple extra throws over to keep an eye on Trip Myers. Now he's set and ready to go. Looks in over the front shoulder. Fastball just missed the zone high. And now the count is 1-1. It's a 3-2 ball game. Lynchburg on top of Johns Hopkins. It looks like I'm going to get joined by a very special guest here in just a moment. We'll let this half inning finish up as Pond kicks and fires. Foul ball towards the parking lot area. And now it's 1 ball and 2 strikes with 2 outs in the top of the 3rd inning. Blue Jays scored 1 in the first. They did leave 3 stranded, though, thanks to some very timely pitching from Brandon Pond. He got the final out in that first inning from the strikeout. Let's see if he can do it again. Nasty slider coming, maybe. He'll have to wait till after a pickoff attempt. That one chases Tripp Myers back to first base. Ben Jones has played up the middle and on the outfield grass as the second baseman. Brandon Garcia very deep at shortstop. Here comes the pitch to Caleb Sear. Oh, just stayed alive. I think he hit that one off the end of the bat. Cap job there over to the man waiting on deck. That is Jimmy Stevens, who is 0 for 1 with a strikeout. So we will try it again here with a 1-2 delivery. Crowd is lively and into it again, including the student section, if you will. Oh, swing and a miss. Brandon Pond did get nasty. Special sauce on that one as it disappeared from Caleb Sear's bat. That is a strikeout. It will leave 1 stranded, but Johns Hopkins does score 1 on 2 hits. No Lynchburg errors. And the Hornets now lead after 2.5, 3-2 over the Blue Jays from Johns Hopkins. Kyle Haney hanging out with thousands of our closest friends here on the Lynchburg Hornets Sports Network and hanging out with my new great friend, Dr. Allison Morrison Shetler, the president of the University of Lynchburg. We had such a fun time with our interview yesterday. We decided we had to recreate this. We had to do it again.
I appreciate that.
How much fun was yesterday for you? I know you put a lot of pictures out there with the fans and the players. Josh Jorman with the red body paint. That was fabulous. A blast, wasn't it?
It was absolutely fabulous. The fact that so many people are here supporting, the energy in the stadium is just unbelievable. And I don't know if you noticed, but Dell has joined us.
I did mention Dell walking around. I'm excited. I hope we can get him on the broadcast, although typically those mascots, they don't say very much. But it might be a good social media post anyway to see him with a headset on if he could fit it. Sean Pokerock has grounded out to the shortstop for the first out of the inning. Lynchburg leads 3-2. Dr. Morrison Shetler, again, just talking a bit more about Lynchburg as a school. This game is just one small snippet. The baseball team is just one small slice of what Lynchburg does, but it is really neat to get the school in the spotlight on such a big stage.
Absolutely. We're an institution with high academic rigor. We really enjoy making sure that our students have great experiences, and I can tell you our student athletes are absolutely fabulous in classroom, outside the classroom, and as I mentioned yesterday, the contribution to the community is fabulous.
It does, and it seems like you talked about that energy. It is contagious, and it is palpable. I think when you say, oh, they've got great energy, or there was this energy, I think sometimes folks don't know what that means, but when you feel it in person, you can quantify it, and you can feel it, like I said.
Mm-hmm. So one of our phrases is we put our passion into purpose, and you can feel the passion here for the support for our teams, the support for the university, just making sure that everybody gets a really great experience, and that's what we focus on at the University of Lynchburg.
And just that high standard, too. You see this baseball team with a commitment to excellence. I think that's contagious for both other athletic teams, but also maybe students and faculty and staff. You know, it has to rub off on you a little bit when you see other people operating at such a high level, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And I think that, again, our students are there as mentors for younger students coming in. They create that passion for learning, that passion for discovery, that passion to be able to get those experiences that set them apart. And my goal is that every student that comes to the University of Lynchburg is the first choice for graduate school and for a work position. And we're seeing that right, left, and center. So yeah, it's a great vibe. It's a great opportunity, and our faculty and staff are right there making sure that the students get great experiences.
Gavin Collins hits a bouncing ball up the middle. This might be a double play. They'll turn and throw. They will get Gavin Collins out. It was a base hit from Eric Hyatt, but they're both gone on the bouncing ball up the middle. So we've got you here, Dr. Morrison Shetler. Let's just keep talking just a little bit. I know you've been to some other schools, obviously. You enjoyed your time at those other places. And, you know, I don't like to compare and contrast too much, but tell us what sets Lynchburg apart as far as the on-campus vibe, because you've been I know you were at ECU for a bit, East Carolina. Folks don't know.
No.
That's a big school. No,
Western Carolina University.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Well, see, you take the lead then. I've already botched it. You bail me out. Tell folks when you compare to these other places, just what Lynchburg brings to the table as a school.
Mm-hmm. So I've been very fortunate to work and live in wonderful other institutions, but the mission, the values, the care and attention that we bring to our students and our faculty and staff sets Lynchburg apart. It is what everybody calls home. They feel like they're family. I know a lot of other institutions might say that, but we are living that experience, and that's what our students feel. They feel cared for. They feel safe and welcome. We really have that emphasis, my 3 pillars for the institution: leadership development, innovation and collaboration, and diversity, equity, and inclusion. When you leave with those skills, then you can do anything. And so our students are adaptable to a changing environment. And goodness knows what they'll be doing in the future, but they will be making a difference.
So I think I just love hearing that. I think these baseball players and coaches have made a difference. Let's talk about the game. You're a sports fan. What are you expecting here in these last 6 innings or so as Lynchburg leads 3-2? I know you're biased, but
just a tad. But they have worked so hard. They're doing so well. Coach Jones is such a great coach, as all the coaches are. I really expect us to do the best we can do and excel and just be who we are. Best players, great reputation for being sportsman-like, and that's exactly what they're showing here today.
Well, and before I let you go, one of the things I always talk about that I love about our coaching staff is I think they've got the best mix of old school and new, and I mean that because they'll use the new technology that's available that some of those older coaches don't like, but they've still got those core values and those old school baseball ideas, and I think that's probably the way most of our faculty and staff on campus is, right? The perfect blend of old and new, right?
Absolutely. We've got to stay up with the times, but we've also, again, it's what brought me to the University of Lynchburg. Our core values, what we expect from our students, faculty, and staff is to be great citizens and to do the best we can to make sure that we can change the world. And that's what our students do. They go out and change the world.
There's a strikeout from Brandon Pond to get the first out of the inning here in the 4th. Anything before we let you go? I know you want to get back out there with the fans and soak up that energy and enjoy things.
I sure do. Well, just again, to anyone that's listening in, watching the game, thank you for your support. It is a great day to be a Hornet, and it's a great day to be a baseball Hornet. And thanks, Kyle, for all you're doing.
Well said. Thank you. Yeah, you're doing such a good job. You might bounce me out of a job.
I don't think so.
You might be the special guest broadcaster next year. But, no, we'll plan on doing this again next season sometime or even before then. Who knows?
Great. Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Dr. Allison Morrison Shetler, everybody. She's going to go enjoy the game with hundreds of her closest friends. We'll say conservatively hundreds of Hornets fans out there. And we know you're listening at home or at work, and we really appreciate that. And it is, again, a 3-2 Lynchburg lead. We are in the 4th inning, top of the 4th inning. Johns Hopkins is hitting. It is Dylan Whitney, their shortstop, facing a 2-1 count. He will rope one into left center field. That's down for a hit, and Eves fields on one bounce, and then high arcing toss to Brandon Garcia at second. So it's a single for Dylan Whitney, There is one out here in the top of the fourth inning. Sam Browning, the 9-hole man, will bat. He was hit by a pitch in his first at-bat. With that previous strikeout, Brandon Pond now has 5 Ks on the day so far. Pond pitching in the stretch. Another toss over to first base to keep those runners close. I think Lynchburg's been doing a great job holding runners in this trip to Cedar Rapids. We know Holden Fiedler's already thrown out a runner at second base, and that's a big part of it. You got to throw over some, keep those guys close at first base. Lynchburg always has that piece of their game. I think that's a thing that some pitchers maybe struggle with. And I hesitate to say young pitchers because I think there's some veteran pitchers or even some professional pitchers that don't necessarily value the holding runners piece of pitching. But these guys do. Ground ball, left side, Garcia there, field, sidearm flip to Ben Jones. Lynchburg will get the double play. They are leading the country in that double play stat, and they turn another one right there. This time it's 6, 4, 3. Tic-tac-toe around the diamond once again for Lynchburg as they get out of the inning. Hornets lead 3-2. We'll take a short break here as we get ready for the bottom of the fourth inning. Kyle Haney spending more time with you here in the bottom of the fourth inning. It's game 2 of championship series play between Johns Hopkins and Lynchburg. The Lynchburg Hornets lead 3-2 right now. What another great conversation with the president of the University of Lynchburg, Dr. Allison Morrison Shetler. She is incredible. There's a great video of her and I doing a little 2.5, 3-minute interview. You can learn a great Scottish phrase on that video if you can find it on social media or YouTube, or perhaps it's even on the Lynchburg website. You can find it. I know you can find it. If you found this stream, you can find that interview. And it really was pretty neat. I think you can hear Dr. Morrison Shetler so well-spoken, so knowledgeable, but down to earth too. I love that. She spent a lifetime in academics and in leadership, but she can just talk to anybody. It's incredible. So much fun. And a big sports fan too. She did tell us yesterday that she was a pretty good basketball player growing up. She was too modest to say pretty good, but I read between the lines when she said a few things about her basketball career. Fastball from Jackson Harding is there for strike 2, and it's a 2-2 count. Harding is 1 for 1. Hard single up the gut in his first plate appearance. And he's had a really good trip to Cedar Rapids as well. Another guy that the Hornets have leaned on. He'll spray this one to the left side, and the left fielder is there making sort of a jumping grab to take it out of the sky and retire Jackson Harding. First out in the bottom of the fourth inning. Lynchburg does lead 3-2. 2 in the first, 1 in the second. The third inning, Lynchburg grounded into a double play of their own to end the inning. So they did get one hit in the third inning, but none left on. Lynchburg has stranded 3 base runners, all 3 in scoring position. For Johns Hopkins, their score line is 1 run in the first, none in the second, 1 in the third, 0 in the fourth. And that's on 2 hits, both the hits in the third inning. Scratch that. They did get a hit last inning. That was Dylan Whitney. So up to 3 hits total for Johns Hopkins. They've left 4 on, 2 of those in scoring position. And they have grounded into a double play, that one that just ended the last inning. Holden Fiedler, 0-2 count pretty quickly. He's 1 for 1 with a hard single. Here's the pitch from Romano. Breaking ball. Fiedler lays off. Good take there. And now the count is 1-2. 63rd pitch of the ball game for Gabriel Romano. Said I wasn't going to overdo talking about that, but it's worth noting here in the bottom of the 4th inning. Romano is the quote-unquote ace for Johns Hopkins, and he's really good. I think that's worth repeating again. He threw 7 innings on Friday, gave up 7 hits, but no earned runs. Struck out 6 and walked 2. Played 4 years at Division I Quinnipiac, and actually has a connection, an ODAC, maybe not an ODAC connection, but an ODAC stat line, if you will. He went 9 innings, a complete game in region play against Randolph-Macon. Lynchburg fans know all about the Randolph-Macon Yellow Jackets. Gabriel Romano virtually shut them down, held them to 3 earned runs over those 9 innings, struck out 6 in that game. So that tells you a bit about his quality. Actually, in super regional play, Romano went 8 innings and got the loss. Gabe Romano pitching now to Carson Atkins. Got a swing and miss there after striking out Holden Fiedler. Count pretty quickly has gone to 0-2. Gabe Romano might be getting better as the game goes on. We said that about a lot of those Lynchburg pitchers that threw the complete game. Swing and a miss. Atkins was out front, and that's how the inning will end. A fast one for Lynchburg. First time they've gone 3 up, 3 down, and 2 punch-outs in there as well for Gabe Romano. Hornets do lead 3-2 after 4 complete in Game 2 of NCAA Division III Baseball Championship Series play. All right, let's say hello to some more folks in the chat here. I don't think we got to Katie and Libby earlier, but hello, Katie and Libby. Hello to the entire LaDuca crew. It looks like Gregory LaDuca has us on back in Rochester saying, go Hornets. We got to say hello to Mike and Ellen Cotton down in Charlotte, North Carolina. My guy, John Giffen, listening in Ashburn, Virginia. I thought John might have been in Ohio for a while, and maybe he was. I could still be correct about that, but it looks like Jay Giff is in Northern Virginia now. He's a guy that played baseball against Coach Lucas Jones back in the day. Coach Lucas Jones in his 6th season as the head man for the University of Lynchburg. He is a Heritage High School product, just 5 or 10 minutes away from campus there in the Hill City. And then Lucas Jones also played at the University of Lynchburg as well. So we're having so much fun up here. And we've got even more. Blazer Bobcat in Albany, Georgia, I think, has us tuned in. I dig that screen name there. Brandon Pond's got that blazing fastball sometimes. He tried the breaking ball and missed to Matthew Cooper. 1-1 count to begin inning number 5. Lynchburg leads 3-2. No activity in either bullpen yet. So obviously, it tells you a few things about how these guys are throwing the baseball. Romano for Hopkins, Pond for Lynchburg. Tells you about the trust factor. Oh, Matthew Cooper got into one. Neves back to the track, just going to be able to look up. That is a bomb from Matthew Cooper. Home run, first home run of the national championship tournament for Johns Hopkins. They had 110 on the season, but they finally hit one here in Cedar Rapids, and it's a big one. It ties the ball game 3-3. I think Brandon Pond just left a fastball in a hittable location. Matthew Cooper did not miss. That is his 25th dinger of the season. Matthew Cooper has gone yard. 4th hit of the ball game that Brandon Pond has surrendered. And it is just a solo shot, but it ties the game, 3-3. So we're tied again. Oh, Eleanor Tucker's listening. Uh-oh, tough play in the gap here. Atkins on the run, won't get there in time. He'll pick it up off 2 bounces, bounced off the heel of his glove, actually. Now he'll collect and fire into second, but that's a double for Dylan Souvenir. Second double of the ball game for Souvenir. Multi-hits here in this one. He's already extended his 19-game hitting streak. So Hopkins is heating up, and so is the Lynchburg bullpen. A couple arms hustling down to get loose here in the top of the 5th inning. I don't think Brandon Pond has been ineffective by any stretch of the imagination, but against these good teams, they can make even good pitching look bad from time to time. Johns Hopkins has the offensive arsenal but can really put pressure on a pitcher. Holden Fiedler's going to go have a mound visit. We'll say hello to any other members of the Haney family and the KD Country / Groove team that might be tuned in down there. They've really had to work extra so I could come out here and have fun, but we won't get into too many detailed stories about me. I don't like to make it about myself, which is funny because that's one of my jokes when I really do want to say something about myself. But the mound visit is over, so the comedy routine will have to wait for another day. Brandon Pond, and Holden Fiedler had a good discussion there. It was fairly short. Holden Fiedler will get set behind the dish here as Brandon Pond pitches to Sean Stour. 0 for 2, did reach on an error by Brandon Garcia. Fastball inside, missed. It's ball 1. We're in the top of the 5th inning. It's a tie ball game now, 3-3, after the solo home run from Matthew Cooper. Pond set, looks over the front shoulder, throws. That one is belted by Stour. Neves going back, makes the grab. No, he missed it. It came out of his glove. It came out of Avery Neves' glove. He was in position, and something happened there. It'll go down as E7 and an error on Avery Neves. That's the second error of the ball game for Lynchburg. And I've mentioned Lynchburg is elite. They are one of the best teams in the country. Obviously, they've proven that, but it doesn't mean they're perfect. They do make mistakes from time to time, and we've seen a couple little defensive boo-boos in this one. Pressure will do that to you, but also it might just be baseball. Hard to do the cause and effect thing and place blame and say, oh, it's the pressure of the moment that made Neves miss that ball. Sometimes you just miss something here or there. Pond, he'll have to pitch under pressure again, though. Big swing and a miss from Sam Frank. That chased him completely out of the batter's box. It's an 0-1 count. Runners at the corners. There's nobody out in the 5th inning. That's what those errors can do, though. They can prolong an inning. It was already going to be a good inning for Shenandoah. Matthew Cooper hits a solo home run. Souvenir gets a double. And then the error comes. If you catch that ball, there's 1 out. There's only a runner on second. You can do those hypothetical things. Obviously, the error hurts just a bit. So the tension is building now. Here's the pitch from Brandon Pond. Foul ball sprayed into the Hopkins bullpen. And the count remains 0-2. Multiple players getting loose in the Lynchburg pen. And you are, as a coach, thinking about the fact that you might have 2 games today. Yes, if you're Lynchburg, you want to close it out in game 1, but you do have to be a realist sometimes as well. Tie ball game here, 3-3. I think you probably play this one definitely to try to win the game. If the score line changes dramatically, then you might start thinking about a 3rd game. But right now, I don't know that you necessarily go all in, but I think you push a lot of chips in the middle of the table right here if you're Lynchburg. Foul ball, right side. Hyatt got to the fence in front of Hopkins' dugout, but it is just bouncing in the stands for another strike. 1-2 count. Maybe that means Jack Batchmore for long work, potentially. We know Jack Batchmore is the All-American stopper, the fireman for Lynchburg, but we haven't seen him since the first game. Hornets haven't needed the bullpen. 3 straight complete games in this tournament. And Zach Potts went 7 innings strong in the first game. Another foul ball from Sam Frank. He is really staying alive. Just barely getting enough of these offerings from Brandon Pond. So the bullpen should be completely fresh. Now, guys have been warming up. And if you didn't warm up, then maybe you get a side session in. get some throws in. Lynchburg did practice on those off days. So I think the bullpen will be ready. Rested, but very ready. Brandon Pond is balked. The Johns Hopkins dugout was yelling it out first, and then the umpires, I think, realized, yes, it was a balk. Pond kind of came up to come set and then hesitated and then finally did come set. When you got the runners on, it's got to be one fluid motion when you come set. And that's tough for some baseball fans because in the big leagues, they sort of let you do anything when you come set when you're on the mound. It's a 4-3 Hopkins lead. Blue Jays have taken the lead on a balk, and there's a runner at second. Another foul ball from Sam Frank. This is quite an at-bat from him. Still a 1-2 count. He's fouled off at least 5 by my ledger now. And we'll try it again. 4-3 ball game. Johns Hopkins leads. Second time they've led today. They got off to the 1-0 start in the first inning. Fastball finally got by Sam Frank. Brandon Pond finally figured out the combination of that lock. It was a fastball upstairs that Frank couldn't lay off of. 6th strikeout of the game for Brandon Pond. There's still just one out. There's one out. Associate head coach Travis Beasley will take a mound visit now to go talk to his pitcher and catcher. Brandon Pond, 5-1 on the season, 2.73 earned run average. Batters hitting just .220 against Brandon Pond. He surrendered 5 hits in this ball game now. 5 hits in this game. Big fly homer that tied it at 3-3. Dylan Souvenir has 2 doubles. So that was something I said had been a strength of Lynchburg's pitching staff all season. They keep the ball down. They don't give up a lot of extra base hits. Well, there you go. 3 of the 5 hits for Hopkins are extra base hits. Trip Myers will walk in. He's a lefty carrying a 14-game hitting streak now because he's 1 for 2 in this game. Hopkins 1 run in the first, none in the second, 1 in the third, 0 in the fourth, and 2 runs here in a 5th inning that is not over. In fact, there's just 1 out in the 5th inning. Pond looks at the runner, now pitches to Myers. He'll hack at the first one. Left center gap, Avery Neves is there. He'll come on and make the catch for out number 2. And maybe back to Neves' error earlier, there is some sun out there today. Kind of that haze that we've had much of this trip, but the sun is an issue, and we've seen players battling the sun all week long. Ryan Long had to shield his eyes from the sun yesterday to make a game-winning catch to end things in Game 1 against Johns Hopkins. This is Game 2. Game 3 would be if necessary, only if the Blue Jays can win this one. Slider from Brandon Pond missed the zone low and away, and now the count is 1-0 with 2 outs to Caleb Sear. The DH is 0 for 1 with a walk and a strikeout. Facing the hard-throwing right-hander, Brandon Pond. Pond gets the sign from Fiedler. Outfield playing Sear to pull. So is the infield, really. There's another off-speed pitch. That one was even wider from Brandon Pond. Back to the phrase that Tim LaDuca and myself used quite a bit yesterday. You have to stay within yourself. If you're Brandon Pond, you're probably still riding the high from the complete game on Saturday. And you know he's capable, but you can't force it. You can't try to do things outside of what you do well. It's almost like playing on a scale of 1 to 10. It's almost like trying to keep things right there at a 9 or a 9.5. You try to go at a 10 the whole time. Make the pitches you know you can make. Make the pitches you've made hundreds of times in big spots as well. Brandon Pond's played his share of pressure baseball games. Check swing from Sear. He did not go. It's ball 3. 3-0 count with 2 outs. The top of the 5th inning. Hopkins leading again 4-3. Brandon Pond is set and ready. 1 look at the runner. Now he fires to Sear. Another check swing, but this one is across the plate for a strike anyway. 3-1 now on the DH from Johns Hopkins. He's got 16 homers on the season. Over 100 as a team, but just 1 now in national championship play here. 6th game for Johns Hopkins in Cedar Rapids. Ball 4. Brandon Pond issues the walk. It's actually the first person he's walked since Caleb Sear back in the first inning. So the control has gotten better for Brandon Pond. He's hit a batter in between now and then. But that's just walk number 3. He's given up 5 hits. 2 doubles and a homer in there for Johns Hopkins. Jimmy Stevens is 0 for 2 with 2 strikeouts. So that could have been part of the pitching plan for Lynchburg. Pitch around Caleb Sear a little bit to get to this man, Jimmy Stevens. Ball 1, though. Stevens has struck out in the first inning. He struck out to begin inning number 4. We're in the top of the 5th now. Stevens yesterday 0 for 3. Here comes the pitch from Brandon Pond. Foul ball from Jimmy Stevens. Straight back, evens the count at 1-1. On the season for Mr. Jimmy Stevens, 290. Started, it looks like, every single game for Johns Hopkins. He may be the only one on the roster that can claim that. The second baseman for the Blue Jays. Here comes a 1-1 pitch from Brandon Pond. Kicks and deals. Softly hit. Right side. Actually, Harding's going to have to go back. It was hit better than I thought. It bounced near the warning track. That'll score 1. A double for Jimmy Stevens. His first hit against Lynchburg will score 2 as Caleb Sear came all the way around from first base to hustle home. It's a 4-run inning now for the Blue Jays. Second double of the inning. Make it 3 extra base hits in this inning to go along with the leadoff home run from Matthew Cooper. That seems like so long ago. And here comes a second visit from associate head coach Travis Beasley. That means that Brandon Pond's afternoon is done. He will have to hand the ball off to a teammate and hope that Lynchburg can fight their way back in this game. Right now, Hornets trailing 6-3. We'll pause and figure out the new arm here in just a moment on the Lynchburg Hornets Sports Network. The new pitcher for Lynchburg will be freshman Matt Cassidy, another guy that we lump in there with the talented youth movement for Lynchburg, a freshman from Heritage High School. He is on to pitch against Johns Hopkins. 2 outs in the top of the 5th inning. There will be a runner on second base, and he'll be facing the shortstop Dylan Whitney, who's now got 9 hits in the 6 games here in Cedar Rapids. Looks like Dylan Whitney now is 9 for 20 in his trip to the D3 baseball championships. He'll face Matt Cassidy. First appearance here in Cedar Rapids for Cassidy. I think you have to go back to regional play for Matt Cassidy to find the last time he threw a baseball in a game. And I do say in a game because all of these pitchers and players have been working. They've been working. They've been staying fresh. They've been working on their games. If anything, it's a great chance for a bullpen guy to really get better and improve himself late in the season if you're not pitching as much. You can almost put more into those bullpens and those side sessions. You can really empty the tank, as we say, over there in practice if you haven't thrown much in the games. When you're in the games, you're just trying to keep the arm in shape more so. You're trying to keep some feel. Maybe not necessarily building as the year goes on, although you can say our pitchers, starting pitchers, like Zach Potts, Wes Arrington, and Brandon Pond, who have all thrown complete games in this tournament, you can say they've been building and getting better and better as the season has gone on. So, yes, the game log for Matt Cassidy says he pitched against Lebanon Valley in the 8-4 loss on the road in that game. Before that, you have to go back to early April to find the last time Matt Cassidy pitched. In that game against Lebanon Valley, it was 2 1/3 innings. He gave up 4 hits, but only 1 earned run. So you have to file that under the quality appearance category there for Matt Cassidy. He actually struck out 4 and didn't walk anybody either. So maybe quality is actually underselling what Matt Cassidy did in that Lebanon Valley game, which was a loss. And incidentally, it's the last time Lynchburg did lose, back on May 21st. So this is the freshman, Matt Cassidy, facing Dylan Whitney. Shortstop for the Blue Jays, hits now with a 6-3 lead. Lynchburg came into this 5th inning on top, 3-2. And that has changed. A 4 spot here in the 5th, and the Blue Jays are looking for more. Outfield straightaway and back. Ben Jones maybe slightly to the second base bag up the middle. Here's the pitch from Cassidy. Breaking ball for a strike. The count is 1-1. 2 down here in the 5th. Lynchburg will have the leadoff man, Brandon Garcia, due up. So we'll see if Lynchburg can answer. We've talked about that trait of this Hornets team. They tend to answer the other ball club's run-scoring innings with runs of their own. And I think that would be very big for the Hornets right now. Maybe you don't get all of them back. Maybe you don't tie the game up or take the lead yourself. But I think putting something on the board will be important for that momentum factor that we oftentimes discuss. And we'll discuss it here right now because it looks like the Blue Jays do have the momentum in this one. 2-1 count as Cassidy missed the zone with a fastball. He's set at the waist and ready to go. Checks the runner, now kicks and fires. There's the breaking ball again, 2-2 with 2 outs. It's the 9-hole hitter Sam Browning on deck for the Blue Jays. He is 0 for 1, hit by a pitch and grounded into a double play. Dylan Whitney is 1 for 2 right now. Continuing a tear he has been on this last week. Looper into right center field for Whitney. That's down, base hit. It's going to score another one. 7 on the board for Johns Hopkins. The run will be credited to Brandon Pond's stat line, but you know Matt Cassidy didn't want to give up a base hit right there. Looked like a pretty good pitch. Whitney just kind of threw the hands at it and sent it into right center field, a ball that arced right over the infielder's head for a base hit. Big inning for these Blue Jays from Baltimore, Maryland. Johns Hopkins. 5 runs in the 5th inning here for the Blue Jays. And it's not over. Runner on first. Sam Browning is the hitter. We're used to Lynchburg having long run-scoring innings. It's a little different when you're on the other side of it. You see why it's such a big deal when your team does this. In game 1 for Hopkins, they scored 6 runs in the 8th inning to take control against Misericordia. They won that game 10-5. That's been the most runs they've scored in an inning so far in this trip to Cedar Rapids. That 6th spot in the bottom of the 8th in game 1. Cassidy missed the zone with the breaking ball. 1-0 pitch coming to Browning. He swings at it, slashes it, but it's back foul. Hopkins only scored 2 runs yesterday. Looks like in a 2-inning stretch in one of the games against Baldwin Wallace, they scored 4 runs in 1 inning and then 3 in another, so 7 runs in 2 innings. This Hopkins offense can heat up, and they have. They're in the microwave right now. Lynchburg's looking to do all they can to cool them off. 7-3 ball game. All is not lost, of course. Lynchburg will be sending the top of the lineup here to the dish in the bottom of the 5th inning. And we know Lynchburg can explode. Maybe you don't even have to have the explosion. Maybe you can just score 1 run in every inning from here on out if you're Lynchburg. Win the game that way. Of course, you'll have to hold this Blue Jay offense, who, as I said, appears to be heating up. 1-2 count as Browning took a fastball at the knees for strike 2. Could be a running situation for Dylan Whitney over there at first. He leads off. Cassidy pitches, ground ball back to him. He'll field it a couple steps towards first base and then flip it underhanded to Eric Hyatt for the final out of the inning. But it was a big one for Johns Hopkins. They put up 5 and now lead 7-3 going into the bottom of the 5th. Let's see how those Hornets respond. It's coming up next on the Lynchburg Hornets Sports Network. So Lynchburg had to play from behind in the first inning. Oops, sorry, that was me, fans. We are broadcasting live from the 2023 D3 Baseball Championships here in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. It's the championship series. We're down to the final two teams. As I was saying, Lynchburg had to play from behind for the first time in the first inning when Johns Hopkins scored 1 to open up the ball game. Lynchburg answered quickly with 2 in their half of the first frame. So it felt like all was well at that point. Lynchburg was up 3-1 and then 3-2. But a 5-run explosion in the fifth inning for Hopkins has the Hornets playing from behind again. There were 4 base hits in that inning, including 2 doubles and 1 homer. And it looks like 4 of the 5 runs will be unearned because there was an error in there. And Hopkins does leave 1 stranded in that inning. So now all told for Johns Hopkins, it's going to be 7 runs on 7 hits. They have stranded 5, and 2 of those in scoring position. Brandon Garcia batting with a 1-2 count. Nobody out. He's the leadoff hitter for Lynchburg, facing Gabe Romano. He's 2 for 2 off Romano so far in this game. Fastball inside that just missed. Long hold from Johns Hopkins. And they voiced some displeasure again there, and I'll mention that because the Hopkins dugout was warned one time by our home plate umpire that he would like to have no more of the arguing of balls and strikes. It's tough for an umpire because, you have fans who are going to say things, and sometimes hard to know if it's coming from the dugout or from the stands. And then I'd say other times maybe it is obvious when you hear people yelling, and certainly if you get a reaction from the pitcher or catcher, well, then you're going to know where that's coming from. 2-2 count on Brandon Garcia. Here's the pitch. Ground ball, right side. First baseman is there. Souvenir gobbles it up. He'll step on the bag himself. And for the first time today, Brandon Garcia has been retired. Ben Jones has not been on yet today. He is due. 2 strikeouts, in fact, for Benny Bombs, who's put together a wonderful postseason. 18 hits in the postseason. 7 of those are extra base hits. 4 doubles, 1 triple, 2 home runs. Ben Jones tripled to start the game. Drove in Brandon Garcia. That was a big first inning for Lynchburg against East Texas Baptist. And probably need to be more specific because Lynchburg did play ETBU twice. Hopkins played Baldwin Wallace 3 times. They had to get in that if-necessary situation to get to this championship series. So they have played with their back to the wall before. They've won an elimination game already in this championship in Cedar Rapids. Fastball, outer half, strike 1 on Ben Jones. It's a 2-1 count. Go back to super regional play. Johns Hopkins actually lost the first game there, so they won back-to-back elimination games in that setting. Breaking ball in the dirt. Jones lays off. Now it's a 3-1 count on Ben Jones. Lynchburg has knocked around 5 hits. They've scored 3 runs on 5 hits. They've left 3 on, 3 in scoring position. And they've worked 1 hit by pitch. Hard ground ball right side. Souvenir bobbled briefly. He'll have to flip to Romano. Romano got over there and covered in time, and that's an out. Smoked off the bat of Ben Jones, but the first baseman Souvenir made another good play, keeping the balance, body control, and then a nice flip to Gabe Romano, the pitcher who was covering. Romano has not walked any. He's hit 1. He hit Sean Pokerock. We said he had elite control. Struck out, coming into this game, he struck out 70. And today, Gabe Romano struck out 4. So the total number on the season now is 74 punch-outs to only 16 walks for Gabe Romano. That is elite control. Avery Neves, 0-1 count pretty quickly. There's a breaking ball from Romano that missed. 1-1 for Avery Neves. Neves has been on once. It was an error by the shortstop. Give Neves some credit because he was rolling down that first baseline. He put some pressure on the play. Neves swings on one, fouled straight back over the top of our heads. And now it's a 1-ball, 2-strike count. Sean Pokerock waits on deck. He's 0 for 1 with a hit by pitch. Options off the bench would include Cam Lane, left-handed swinger that we saw yesterday. Swing and a miss from Avery Neves, and that's actually back-to-back 3-up, 3-down innings for Lynchburg. So Gabe Romano's really rolling now for Johns Hopkins. See if Lynchburg can slow down their offense and keep themselves in this ball game. Right now, it's Hopkins 7, Lynchburg 3. We're moving to the 6th inning in Game 2 of the championship series in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Top of the 6th inning will be led off by Matthew Cooper. He homered to begin the 5th inning. And that was an inning where Hopkins scored 5 runs. They sent 9 hitters to the plate. And they chased Brandon Pond out of the ball game. It was 5 runs, but only one of them was earned. And, of course, Matthew Cooper's solo home run was obviously earned to lead off that inning. 1-0 count. As Matt Cassidy tried the breaking ball and missed, he is still on. Cassidy came in to face 2 batters in that 5th inning. Gave up a single to the shortstop, Dylan Whitney, and then he got Sam Browning to bounce one back to him for the final out of the frame. Swing and a miss from Matthew Cooper. Big hack from a guy who has 25 home runs on the season now. He was 0 for 4 yesterday. I thought Lynchburg's plan of attack against Matthew Cooper was really brilliant. Some people overuse the word genius, but I think when you're talking about Lynchburg's coaching staff, it is a form of genius, the things that they do. Not just in the scouting report and the game prep, but also just the player development piece, getting guys ready to play, getting the most out of guys' potential. Another big hack from Matthew Cooper comes up empty, 2-2 count. We were asking the players in the interview room about what makes Coach Lucas Jones so great. And they said the first thing he does is he gets great players. He recruits great players and great guys, too. High-integrity guys. They play the game hard, play the game the right way. They do the things in the classroom that you need, and then they get the most out of them. Zach Potts was very complimentary to the coaching staff about they give us confidence. They let us play. We know they're going to let us go out there and do our thing. They don't put extra pressure on us. The game itself is pressure enough. The good coaches don't add extra pressure to players. And certainly this moment, this pressure moment here in Cedar Rapids, will add a little extra turn of the screw, tightening things up, if you will. That is a 6-pitch walk for Matthew Cooper. Count got full, and Matt Cassidy missed the zone just inside. So leadoff man is aboard again. That's Matthew Cooper. He's walked, he's homered, he's been hit by a pitch. Ground ball right side, but it will drift foul. Dylan Souvenir took a hack. Souvenir, all he's done is hit back-to-back doubles in his last 2 plate appearances. And he's not been retired yet as he walked in his first at-bat, or plate appearance, rather. 0-1 count. Infield double play depth. Hornets could use another one of those. They turned to double play to end the 4th inning. That was 6-4-3. Garcia to Jones to Hyatt. Let's see if Lynchburg could do something like that again. 0-2 count on Dylan Souvenir. Matt Cassidy features one of those steep overhand 12-6 kind of a breaking balls. It's a lanky right-handed freshman from Heritage High School. Ground ball, right side. Hyatt will field, throws to second. Did they get him there? Matthew Cooper didn't even slide. My goodness. That is not something you see very often from high-level baseball teams. Matthew Cooper just kind of went cruise control into second base, and it was a close play there. Brandon Garcia on the bag to record the out. That was Eric Hyatt catching and feeding to second to get the leading man, Matthew Cooper. No criticism of Cooper. Don't know necessarily what he was thinking, and trust me, in my playing days, I did my share of bonehead things. So I'm definitely not the guy to criticize. I don't know if maybe somebody told Matthew Cooper, hey, you're up easy. Maybe he thought it was a foul ball. Not exactly sure. Line drive to Ben Jones. He'll field, flips to first. They do get two. Not the conventional double play, but how about a line drive right at Ben Jones? He catches and snaps it over to Eric Hyatt at first base for the third out of the inning. Maybe some momentum for these Lynchburg Hornets. We'll see. They get out of the top of the sixth in fine fashion. It'll be Sean Pokerock leading off for the Hornets when we move to the bottom of the sixth inning. Lynchburg trailing Johns Hopkins 7-3. Getting ready for the bottom of the sixth inning here in Game 2 of this best 2-of-3 championship series. And there is a slight delay, baseball fans, under what we're going to say are very strange circumstances. Lynchburg turned a nice double play to end the top of the sixth inning. It was a line drive right at Ben Jones. He caught it. Quick throw over to first base to get the runner Dylan Souvenir before he could get back in time. During that inning, during that half inning of the sixth inning, there was a foul ball hit into the Johns Hopkins dugout that actually hit the starting pitcher, Gabe Romano. So Romano is, I guess, getting medical attention right now, and the coaching staff and also the athletic trainers and the umpires are trying to decide whether he can continue in the game or not. And Gabe Romano has obviously thrown the ball pretty well. He has not allowed a base hit since the third inning. Lynchburg scored their runs in the first and second inning, 2 in the bottom of the first, 1 in bottom 2. Donuts in 3, 4, and 5 for Lynchburg. So Gabe Romano, obviously losing him right now would be a really tough deal. And you don't have anybody warming up in the Hopkins bullpen. And this is typical in an injury situation. Maybe some Lynchburg fans are thinking, well, you got to get out there. You know, you can't slow the game down. But umpires and the rules say you get a little grace period when your pitcher gets hurt, whether it's when he's on the mound or under strange circumstances like this where he's been hit by a foul ball in the dugout. And it is a dangerous game. Let's touch on that again. It is a very dangerous game, this baseball, in a lot of ways. That baseball hurts, and that baseball will come off of arms when people throw it and bats when guys hit it at a very high speed. And if you're not ready, it can cause more serious injury. It does sound like Romano was hit somewhere in the face or the head from that loose foul ball. Now, there's no ambulance situation or anything. I don't think it's a deal where Romano needs to go to the hospital or by any means. But there is some question about whether he will be able to continue or not. And again, there is nobody getting loose in the Hopkins bullpen. That makes me think that he will continue. Maybe they just got to figure out how can you get a Band-Aid or some athletic tape to stay on and keep a cut closed. Something like that is what I'm leaning towards right now. But let's try to regroup here and tell you what's happened up to this point. It is 2023 Division III baseball championship play in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Some folks would call it the College World Series. The NCAA actually does not prefer that term for the D3 championships here, but you may know it as the College World Series. It's the championship series now. Lynchburg won their first 3 games in bracket play. They beat Wisconsin Lacrosse on Friday in Game 1. They beat East Texas Baptist twice to advance to this point. And Lynchburg, by virtue of winning all those games, has received a couple days off in this mix here. And they only had to play 1 game on, I guess it was Monday, whereas this Hopkins team had to play 2 games. This is Game 5 total for Lynchburg in this trip to Cedar Rapids. For Hopkins, it's Game 6. And now that gets you back to, or that gets you caught up as far as where we started yesterday. It's a best 2 out of 3 series, and Lynchburg won yesterday in Game 1, 5-2. It was a really good performance by Lynchburg's starting pitcher, Zach Potts, and the offense responded when they needed to. Lynchburg got the Game 1 victory, 5-2. And that sets up today's situation, where Lynchburg has 2 chances to win 1 game. It's a best 2 out of 3. Lynchburg's already got the 1 win, so they only need to get 1 more. Obviously, you'd love to close it out in the first game today if you're Lynchburg, for a bunch of reasons, just to leave no doubt and really establish your dominance as the best baseball team in all of the land. But then also that momentum factor that we talk about sometimes, Hornets fans. You don't want to give the other team some momentum. Of course, there are plenty of situations where Team A wins Game 1, loses Game 2, and then turns around and wins Game 3, no problem. That happens. That happens all the time in baseball and other sports. But you don't really want to leave a team hanging around if you can avoid it. There is activity now in the Hopkins bullpen, by the way, while we talk. But Lynchburg, with the win yesterday, moved to 47-7 on the season, which is the exact same record as Johns Hopkins. These 2 teams share that similarity that I've been talking about. They've got 7 losses, but they're all by 7 different teams. Neither ball club has been beaten twice by the same team this year. That will change by day's end. Weather is good, so we don't have to worry about a potential delay. I mean, I guess knock on wood, you never know. It's summertime here in the Midwest. Storms do pop up, but it looks like the percentages are very low, next to nothing as far as precipitation goes. So by day's end, we will have a national champion. Lynchburg trying to take that big trophy back to the Hive on Lakeside Drive. It would be NCAA title number 2 in Lynchburg history. National championship number 4 total, I believe. Or it would be 5, I believe, actually, for University of Lynchburg athletics. There is so much great stuff going on in the athletics department. Let me take time to mention and thank our wonderful athletic director, John Waters. We've had the president, Dr. Allison Morrison-Shetler, on, which was so much fun. But our athletic director, John Waters, deserves a great deal of thanks. I think the athletic department under his direction is stronger than ever. He's been right here in the mix and in the fight this trip to Cedar Rapids. We had a great time with Mr. Waters down in Rocky Mount, actually, that regional down there, which Lynchburg won. He's doing outstanding things. We'll say hello to all Hornets that are listening. And I mean current Hornet athletes, and there are a bunch of them. Current Hornet coaches. Such a great athletic culture on Lynchburg's campus. Everybody pulling for each other. Everybody's so positive. Sharing information. What works for you? What doesn't work for you? What'd you do in this situation? All those things. And every sport is different. But still, I think our coaches work so well together. They support each other. Athletes are the same way. Gabe Romano is back on the mound getting some warm-up tosses. It looks like 2 options in the Hopkins bullpen are going to continue to get loose in case maybe Romano either can't continue because of the injury or is perhaps ineffective because of the injury. He has been effective so far. And you could argue that bottom of the 6th inning, well, the bullpen's probably starting to heat up anyway. That makes sense, too. So without being in the mind of Coach Bob Babb, hard to know what he's thinking here, although I'm sure he will be on pins and needles, if you will, watching Gabe Romano pitch here in the bottom of the 6th inning. Didn't need many warm-up tosses. Only about 5 or 6, and it looks like he's good to go, and we're ready to start the 6th inning. So after a delay for some strange circumstances, we're back to baseball with Sean Pokerock leading off for Lynchburg. 4-5-6 due up for the Hornets. They had some momentum after that double play to end the 6th inning, but the long delay, you could argue maybe it hurts Lynchburg's momentum. No way you can script this stuff, though. Each game is so unique, and I always make that point. Each game is something different. Ground ball, right side. Great diving play by the second baseman. Throw to first, and they got Pokerock. That was impressive from Jimmy Stevens. It was more of a feet-first slide than a dive, but he got down there, got the eye level low to the ground, handled a tough little hop as it was coming hard at him from Pokerock, and then made a strong throw to first base. So 1 pitch, 1 out. And Gabe Romano, after the cut on the nose, it sounds like, is okay. Well, at least on that pitch anyway, we'll say. Eric Hyatt, 1 for 2 with an RBI. Got the RBI on a ground out, actually, in the 1st inning. Lynchburg trails 7-3. There's a fastball for a strike to Eric Hyatt. And the official rule, I'm getting the text here from some of our LHSN staff. The official rule is Romano pulls a string and makes Hyatt check at a curveball for a strike. 10 minutes was the official rule. The umpires gave Hopkins 10 minutes to resolve the injury, or you have to go get a new pitcher. And it seemed like they stayed under that 10-minute limit. We had a long break, but to me it only felt like about 5 or 6 minutes. Check swing again from Hyatt. He holds up, and it's ball 1. 1-2 count. Kyle Haney, having so much fun talking to you through all this baseball action. It has been a dream season. It has been a wild ride at times, but it has been so much fun watching Lynchburg baseball. We've seen some great things from our opponents as well. That's worth talking about. A bunch of worthy adversaries this year for Lynchburg. We've seen some great teams, great coaches, great individuals. That's always a fun part of the game. If you're a baseball fan, I think you got to love when you get to test yourself against the best. Eric Hyatt could not pull the trigger on a fastball inside. That's a strikeout. Sixth one of the game for Gabe Romano. You want to test yourself against the best, and Lynchburg has shown against the best competition that they are worthy, that they are a team that can play for a national championship. They are one win away from a national championship. Lynchburg is one of 2 teams left in the country playing baseball right now at the Division III level. Comes another pitch from Romano to Collins. Collins drills one to right field, but the catch is made. It was hit right at Sam Browning. So another 3-up, 3-down inning for Lynchburg. Romano sat down the last 10 straight. Despite a weird injury, he picked up right where he left off in the bottom of the 6th inning. Top of the 7th on the way. Lynchburg trails Johns Hopkins 7-3. Four, 5, 6 coming up for Johns Hopkins to begin inning number 7. The Blue Jays, the Jaybirds, they lead 7-3 over the Lynchburg Hornets. If Johns Hopkins wins this, we go to an if necessary Game 3 that would begin about 50 minutes after the conclusion of this one. And, of course, that would be winner take all the marbles right there. This is an elimination game. For Hopkins right now, it is not an elimination game for Lynchburg. Swing and a miss from Sam Frank to begin the at-bat in the 7th inning. Lynchburg will have 7, 8, 9 due up in their half of the 7th. Sam Frank is 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts. 0-1 count. Matt Cassidy still pitching for Lynchburg and pitching effectively, I would argue. He did walk 1. He surrendered a single. First batter he faced. This is the 6th hitter that has gotten a look at Matt Cassidy. I think if we get back down to the 8-hole spot in the order, that's where Cassidy began against Dylan Whitney, you might see a change from associate head coach Travis Beasley. Bees and Solbach, it's Michael Solbach, have been very busy this week, scouting, preparing, getting so many looks at the video options from their opponents, getting all the data. And then you got to know how to give that data to the players as well. Check swing, foul ball there from Sam Frank. Because you can have paralysis by analysis. You can have too much information sometimes. And that's back to the great coaching piece. They know the guys that need more information, and they know the guys that just need a little bite size. Just say, hey, let's go hard in, soft away to this guy. Keep it really simple, those sorts of things. Sometimes the pitcher doesn't need to know what Sam Frank, the hitter in this case, hits in every count and where he hits it and what pitches he's hit it off of, where he's hit doubles off of this amount of fastballs and X, Y, Z. You can get all that detail, and it's probably worth knowing that, but it doesn't necessarily mean the pitcher needs to know it. Cassidy, 1-2 pitch to Sam Frank, another foul ball. Frank stayed alive nicely on a long at bat with Brandon Pond earlier. That was, I believe, a 3rd inning at bat where Brandon Pond finally got Sam Frank with a fastball upstairs. Finally figured out the combination to get one by the safe there. Sam Frank hitting with a 1-2 count. Cassidy pumps, deals. It was a high fastball, but too high. That one came in at the eye line. You go with the high heater, you probably want it about neck height to make the guy swing at it. Letter high could be dangerous. because those actually can get tattooed and hit out of town. You get it in between the letters in the throat. That's usually a pretty good one. Swing and a miss. They did get him on the fastball upstairs. It's a good job by Matt Cassidy to know the pitching plan and get it there. That's his first strikeout. 7th time that Johns Hopkins has gotten K'd in this one. Trip Myers is 1 for 3 with a base hit and a strikeout. That base hit extended his hitting streak to 14 games now. Dylan Souvenirs working on a 19-game hitting streak after a pair of doubles. Fly ball left side, shallow left field. Brandon Garcia, the shortstop, is there, waves his arms, calls it off, fights the sun, and pulls it in for the second out of the inning. So that was 1 pitch, 1 out that time. Nice to follow up a long at bat where a hitter fouls off a bunch of pitches. Nice to follow that up with a 1 swing at bat. Kind of saves you as a pitcher. And it saves you physically and mentally. Yes, you get to throw less pitches. I think it's less of a mental grind when a guy offers at your first pitch and pops it up. Ball 1, Caleb Sear nearly went around, but the appeal to the first base umpire says he did not go. Sear has played to pull. That's been a theme for Lynchburg defensively, and that's part of those scouting reports as well that not just Coach Beasley and Coach Solbach put together, but kind of take the lead on the defensive positioning. Assistant Coach Oscar Garcia does a lot with the defensive positioning as well. And it's always an educated guess, right? That's anytime you have a scouting report, always an educated guess as far as how we're going to get this guy out, or offensively, how are we going to hit this guy. But I say that this Lynchburg coaching staff is just so much more educated than other coaching staffs. No knock on anybody else. 1-2 pitch to Caleb Sear. Got him swinging with a high heater. Matt Cassidy climbing the ladder for another strikeout. He punched out 2 in that inning. Maybe there's some momentum for the Lynchburg Hornets. Running out of chances here in this game, though. They trail 7-3 to Johns Hopkins as we move to the bottom of the 7th inning at PG Kiers Field, Veterans Memorial Stadium in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. The leadoff man for Lynchburg will be the right fielder, Jackson Harding. Another 5th-year player, a veteran on this team. Team full of veterans, but also full of young stars as well, like the pitcher, Matt Cassidy. 2 strikeouts in the last inning to keep his team right where they need to be. Right where they need to be. Lynchburg's down by 4, but the deficit has not grown since Matt Cassidy has been on the mound. He did give up a single to Dylan Whitney, Cassidy's first hitter, and a run scored on that, but that run charged to Brandon Pond's line, and it was actually an unearned run as well. 7-3, Johns Hopkins leads. We are in the bottom of the 7th inning, a wonderful version of the 7th inning stretch from our guest organist today. That's the other fun thing about the ballpark here at Veterans Memorial Stadium. There is actually an organ, and they play it in between innings and before the game, the classic baseball feel. I think we had one day where there was no guest organist here, and we just had to go only with the tunes, but that's fun too. 1-2 pitch coming up from Romano to Jackson Harding. Fastball misses outside. That was pitch number 95, so keeping an eye on that pitch count again. Romano, you would think, would be over the century mark before this inning ends. Jackson Harding is leading off and hitting with a 2-2 count. Here's the pitch to Harding. Ground ball, right side. Second baseman will get there, sliding over, sidearm throw for the first out of the inning. Harding now 1 for 3. in this ball game. And it brings up Holden Fiedler, who is 1 for 2 with a strikeout. Carson Atkins on deck. The 9-hole hitter is 0 for 2. Bottom of the order was really good yesterday for Lynchburg in their 5-2 win against Johns Hopkins. Harding with a hit. Fiedler with a nice sacrifice bunt. Carson Atkins had the inning there with the insurance run in the 8th where he stole second, then stole third, and scored while stealing third on an errant throw. 0-1 count on Holden Fiedler. Breaking ball misses. Hopkins dugout seemed to approve of the location on that one. They got it where they wanted against Holden Fiedler, but he laid off. Lynchburg got 7 hits yesterday against Hopkins. They walked 5 times and got hit 3 times. So that should be, without factoring errors, let's see if there was some Hopkins errors, and specifically the one that Carson Atkins scored on. But just back of the envelope there, that should be 15 base runners for Lynchburg yesterday. Ground ball to the shortstop, popped out of the glove, almost had a chance at Holden Fiedler, but the catcher for Lynchburg beat it. That's probably going to be E6 on Hopkins. They've had some defensive woes in this trip to Cedar Rapids. The Blue Jays made 8 errors in Game 1 on Friday, and they won the game 10-5. They survived 8 errors. Second error of the game for Johns Hopkins. Lynchburg has 2 errors in this ball game as well. Carson Atkins hitting now. 0-0 count with 1 out and Fiedler on first base. Breaking ball for a strike. Lynchburg yesterday, though, by my count, it was 15 base runners. Today, it is 5 hits, 1 hit batter, and a couple Hopkins errors. So that should be 8 base runners. Math, not my strong suit. I need to let Dr. Allison Morris and Shetler approve of me to sit in some math classes this summer or even in the fall. Work on my math skills. But I think it's 8 base runners for Lynchburg now. Breaking ball just missed. More visible disappointment and displeasure at the call from the pitcher, Gabe Romano. And I will point out again, Hopkins has been warned about arguing balls and strikes. And typically, it's not going to help your cause. It's not going to make the strike zone bigger if your pitcher is out there doing those things. Ground ball left side. Shortstop gets it. He'll have to hustle to get Atkins at first, but he does. Holden Fiedler moves up 90 feet to second base. The ball was a chopping bouncer that the shortstop, Dylan Whitney, only had 1 play on, and that was to retire Atkins at first. Fiedler at second. Freshman shortstop from Durham, North Carolina, Brandon Garcia steps in. 2 for 3 with a double to start the game. Grounded out to the first baseman in his last at bat. Fourth look at Gabriel Romano. And I always point out the conventional thought is that a team's batting average against a pitcher should go up every time they see him. More information, more looks, more rhythm, more timing. Seen all the off-speed stuff, hopefully. Not always the case with these good pitchers. Bouncing ball to the shortstop again. Whitney's had to do a lot this inning, but he does throw across and get Brandon Garcia by a step. So one left stranded in scoring position, and the score line remains the same, 7-3. Johns Hopkins leading Lynchburg through 7 complete in Game 2 of this championship series at PG Cares Field in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. We've reached the 8th inning of this Game 2 in a best 2 out of 3 championship series. Game 3 would be if necessary if Hopkins can hold on to this 4-run lead. Lynchburg has had their share of dramatic comebacks this season. They would have to do another one if they want to try to vanquish the Blue Jays in this game and take hold of the national title right here in just 2 games needed. If we go to the 3rd game, I like Lynchburg's chances. I'm sure Johns Hopkins will like their chances, but I'm saying this from a couple perspectives, not just from my fan bias. But I like Lynchburg's chances because of the way their bullpen and pitching is set up. Matt Cassidy is just the 3rd reliever Lynchburg has used this trip to Cedar Rapids. Thanks to great starting pitching from Zach Potts, Brandon Pond, and Wesley Arrington, the bullpen has not had to do much for Lynchburg. They should be well rested and well ready up to the task to face the Blue Jays. If you're Lynchburg, you do have the option of probably starting Jack Batchmore in that if-necessary game, Game 3. That's what Lynchburg did in regional play against Lebanon Valley when they lost to the Flying Dutchman for the first time. The Dutchman forcing the if-necessary game. Lynchburg bounced back and beat them. Oh, check swing. What a pitch from Matt Cassidy. That was filthy. That had that ride in there that Jimmy Stevens, the second baseman, just had no chance on. Boy, Matt Cassidy's feeling it. He's getting better as the game goes on. So knowing that you have Jack Batchmore as an option and knowing you have all those other options potentially available, that, I think, makes you feel okay as a Lynchburg fan. Back to that momentum. You never like Johns Hopkins getting some momentum with his victory here. But I think you like your chances in a longer series if you're Lynchburg because of the quality of all their pitching. And remember, this is just Game 5 in Cedar Rapids for Lynchburg. Hopkins, this will be Game 6 and then Game 7. So just the fact that they've had to pitch more innings means they've had to use more arms. And the depth may not be there. Now, if a guy pitched on Friday or Saturday, for Hopkins, maybe he's completely rested by now. Maybe that's a non-factor. But I stand by what I said. I like Lynchburg's chances if this game ends up going Hopkins' way, and we do have to go to the if necessary, Game 3 of the championship series. Looks like a pinch hitter coming up for Johns Hopkins. Dylan Whitney slapped a single by the diving Brandon Garcia, so that's a base hit. He's actually 2 for 2 off of Matt Cassidy. The new hitter will, I believe, be, let me find it for you, fans. The announcement on the loudspeaker. 26, Charles Monterosa is the pinch hitter. Charlie Monterosa. He's hitting .289 on the season. He has started 23 games, so this is game number 28 that he is played in. So there are some data points and some stats for Charles Monterosa. He takes ball 1 from Matt Cassidy. Cassidy's still out there. In 10 batters, Cassidy's only given up 2 hits. They're both to the same guy, shortstop Dylan Whitney. He's 3 for 4, Dylan Whitney. He had 8 hits in Cedar Rapids coming into this game. So the College World Series numbers for Dylan Whitney are going to look really massive. Swing and a miss from Monterosa. 1-1 count with 1 out. There is 1 runner on. We're in the top of the 8th inning. Hopkins batting with a 4-run lead. Lineup remains intact for Lynchburg. They'll have Ben Jones coming up, Avery Neves, and then Sean Pokerock. We did see Cam Lane pinch hit late for Pokerock yesterday. Could be an option. Some other options on the bench as far as hitting and offense and maybe speed in a pinch running situation. They're available as well. Multiple players still getting tosses on in the Lynchburg bullpen, warming up. Jack Batchmore is not one of those. I think the Hornets would go to Jack Batchmore in this game if they were to get the lead back. Probably not going to go to the Jack if they're down. Tie ball game? Maybe. That's worth asking the question. Lynchburg would have to tie it up first, and they're down 4 right now, and they'll only have 2 more swings at it in regulation play. Cassidy has hit the pinch hitter, Charlie Monterosa. That was that fastball that really had some great action tailing into the right-hander's body that he struck out Jimmy Stevens with. But unfortunately, this one, too much tail. It got away from Cassidy. That's a hit by pitch and the second base runner of the inning. Runners on first and second. Thought we might see a mound visit, and this is Holden Fiedler, the catcher, that has walked out to see Matt Cassidy, his freshman pitcher. Looks like Cassidy is staying in, at least at the moment. Matthew Cooper is the very talented leadoff hitter for Johns Hopkins. He has a homer in this ball game. That was the solo shot to start the fifth inning. Matthew Cooper has 25 dingers on the season. And that is one thing right now, Lynchburg, if you're entertaining comeback thoughts that you can't have. You got to keep Matthew Cooper in the yard right here, if at all possible. Cooper kind of stumbles out of the way of an inside fastball, but it is ball one. Lynchburg's turn to double play. Lynchburg has turned 2 double plays in this game. Regular 6-4-3 double play. And then a line drive at Ben Jones. Cooper belts one to left. Neves going back. It hits the middle of the wall. 1 run will score. Neves had to scramble after it because it caromed away. 2 runs will score. They'll throw into second to try to get Cooper, but he is safe there. Big-time damage done from Matt Cooper. He's got a home run in this game. He's now got a 2 RBI double. Cooper got into that one. And it just looked like off the bat that it was going to be too high for Neves to try to scale the wall. It was hit in an area that Neves really couldn't even get there in time as it banged high off the wall. They did keep him in the yard, but full damage done by Matthew Cooper driving in both the runs. Here comes associate head coach Travis Beasley. We may have reached the end of the road for Matthew Cassidy. I think Cassidy pitched great, but unfortunately the end of the outing featured a single, a hit by pitch, and then a double where both those runners scored. We'll pause for a moment, get you the new arm for Lynchburg. Hornets now trail 9-3 in the 8th inning against Johns Hopkins. Trevor Barnes is in the game to pitch for the University of Lynchburg. He's another freshman, much like the man that he took the ball from, Matt Cassidy. Trevor Barnes from Collinsville, Virginia, Bassett High School. 7 appearances on the season. He does have a win. The earned run average is really low, 1.35. But Barnes is a guy a lot like Cassidy who has not pitched in a while. You go to the log here for Trevor Barnes, and he hasn't touched the baseball in a game since April 12th. That was a 12-4 win against Pfeiffer. I think it's still a valuable option for Lynchburg. He is a left-hander, and he will be on to face the left-handed hitting Dylan Souvenir, who's 2 for 3 with 2 doubles and a walk. So the left-on-left matchup is obviously something that Lynchburg's coaching staff is valuing right here. And Trevor Barnes is a good arm. Those numbers don't lie. He doesn't have a lot of work, but the numbers don't lie. Looping line drive that Neves will catch. Might be one pitch and out of there for Trevor Barnes. Let's see if the Hornets leave him in to face some more batters. That is the second out of the inning. Sean Stour, the third baseman, will step up to hit. He's 0 for 4. Today, he lined that ball to Ben Jones. That was part of one double play. Lynchburg with 2 outs here, so they'll only need 1 out to get in the dugout and try to come back in the bottom of the 8th inning. Lefty Barnes set at the belly button, kicks and fires. Swing and a miss from Sean Stour. Well, I tell you, after not having seen Trevor Barnes in a while, it took me a little bit to remember what he was like and what the pitches did. He's rocking fire out there with some hard action on that fastball, I'll tell you that. I talked about these bullpen guys. They maybe have been getting better because they haven't pitched in games. More work on the side sessions and the bullpens. Bouncing ball to Brandon Garcia. Hold that thought. Fields on 2 hops. Bazooka across the diamond to get Stour. So Barnes does the job. 2 quick outs right there, and Lynchburg will try to come back in the bottom of the 8th inning, but the hole is even greater now as Johns Hopkins adds 2 runs on 2 hits in that inning. They leave 1 stranded, and the Blue Jays now lead the Hornets 9-3. Gabe Romano still pitching strong for Johns Hopkins despite a fluke injury where he was hit by a foul ball. Needed about 5 or 6 minutes to get whatever the injury was figured out and get him back on the mound. But here he is pitching into the bottom of the 8th inning. Romano has not surrendered a hit since the 3rd inning. Lynchburg has 5 total. They scored 2 runs in the first, one run in the 2nd inning. Nothing since then on the score sheet for Lynchburg. They had 1 hit in the 3rd inning and no base runners allowed. Only 1 base runner allowed, pardon me. There was an E6 in the 7th inning that allowed Holden Fiedler to get on. That's it, though, since the 3rd. Romano has been just outstanding, and he has gotten better as the game has gone on, like so many of the good starting pitchers do. 3-0 count on Ben Jones, though. He has fallen behind. Here's the pitch. Fastball that will come across for a strike. Gabe Romano entered the game at 10-1, so he's not unbeatable. He's not completely unhittable. Batters hitting just .228 against him prior to this contest. Ben Jones will flare 1 foul, and now the count is full at 3-2. Romano has 3 complete games this season, so you know that he is capable of doing this kind of thing. For Lynchburg, you probably felt like you liked your chances early on. Jones sends one to left field. Deep run for the left fielder at the track, but it's caught there by Matt Cooper. Matt Cooper caught that ball nearly in the same spot that he hit a ball earlier for a double. His was halfway up the high wall there in left field. Ben Jones just made it to the warning track. That's out number 1. Avery Neves hitting. 0 for 3, did reach on an error in the 1st inning. Romano shoots him a fastball for strike 1. 0-1 count with 1 out on Avery Neves, the 2-time first-team All-American. Has been doing big things here in Cedar Rapids. See if Neves can check in here in the bottom of the 8th inning. But, yeah, Romano, very impressive. Defense has backed him a bit more, although there was the error last inning by the shortstop. It didn't end up hurting the Hopkins Blue Jays at all. As pitch number 114, Neves missiled foul into the stands, and now the count is 1-2. Doesn't look like the velocity has taken much of a dip, if any, for Gabe Romano. Breaking ball to Neves, outside for ball 2. Talked about the possible, if necessary, game starter might be Jack Batchmore, much like Lynchburg did against Lebanon Valley in that Rocky Mount Regional? That's not official. Everything's subject to change, of course. And Lynchburg does have so many key options. Still, even after using 2 relievers in this game, Matt Cassidy and Trevor Barnes, still options abound for Lynchburg that I think they really have faith and believe in. Gabe Romano has missed the zone again, and that is ball 4. His first walk of the game. It's another one where he was visibly disappointed with the call. Sean Pokerock will hit. He's been hit by a pitch. He grounded out to the shortstop once and once to the second baseman. So Pokerock 0 for 2. Thought there might be a Cam Lane pinch hit option, and that's still possibly an option, but not right here for Sean Pokerock. Fastball for strike 1. First walk of the ball game for Gabe Romano. He did hit one. He hit this man, Sean Pokerock. This is start number 18 for Sean Pokerock. But in the playoffs, he has been a big piece of Lynchburg's offense. 3 for 12. All 3 of those hits were in game 1 here in Cedar Rapids against Wisconsin Lacrosse. So Pokerock, line drive, one hop that just went right through the second baseman. He took that off the ankle. That's how hard Pokerock hit it. And the second baseman, Jimmy Stevens, is trying to walk this off. And this is not just a pain of embarrassment or feeling like you should have made the play. That hurt. That ball from Pokerock came off at waist height, and I would say the exit velocity was well over 100. I don't know. Maybe I'm, again, biased. But that ball was very strong from Sean Pokerock. That's how you hit it through somebody. That's one where you hit it so hard, it doesn't matter where the defense is played. The ball hit about 4 feet in front of Jimmy Stevens and just ate him up. Ended up hitting him at the ankle or just above the ankle on his left foot. He's staying in the game. There's a mound visit right now for Gabe Romano with the pitching coach from Johns Hopkins. I believe Romano will be staying in the game as well. Just maybe a multi-purpose visit there from the pitching coach. Give the second baseman Jimmy Stevens time to walk that off. Give Romano a little breather as he has allowed back-to-back base runners. They called that a base hit, and I think with good reason. Sean Pokerock absolutely missiled that. Here's a guy that can do some high-velocity damage. It's Eric Hyatt. He's 1 for 3. Actually drove in a run on a ground out. Strike 1 across from Gabe Romano. There are runners on first and second. Neves at second, Pokerock at first. Let's see if Eric Hyatt can put a charge into one. Try to get Lynchburg back within striking distance. They're only down 6. Pokerock kind of fooled a little bit out front. This ball lifted to foul territory. It hit 2 rows up. The first baseman, Souvenir, thought he had a chance at that. I tend to agree with him. That ball just barely got out of catching distance. 0-2 count on Eric Hyatt. Yeah, Lynchburg down 6. Not insurmountable by any means. We know what college baseball is like. We know what Lynchburg has done this year. They can score runs in bunches. Doesn't matter the inning. Could be the first, could be the 8th or 9th. Lynchburg is the home team, by the way. Hyatt will send this one well foul. No chance to catch that at all as it bangs off the press box roof. But it feels like if you can get back to that 4 run or less area that I talk about, the one swing of the bat area, then you'd really like your chances if you're Lynchburg. Hyatt got the bat off his shoulder but held it. More displeasure from Romano. That's just one that you just don't really see from the good pitchers because they know that umpires, they don't care for that. And maybe don't care for that is probably actually too passive of a term. Umpires don't like it at all. 1-2 count on Eric Hyatt. Ground ball left side. This will be tough. It will drift foul. And Eric Hyatt will have to try it again and catch his breath as he made it all the way down the first base line. And I don't want to make it seem like I'm criticizing Gabe Romano because he has pitched outstanding. And honestly, if that's the only thing, the only knock that we have on him, that he kind of throws his hands in the air or grabs his hat in disbelief on a questionable call, maybe that tells you just how good he is. Romano has given up 6 Lynchburg hits. He's walked 1 and hit 1. This will be pitch number 127. We are in the bottom of the 8th inning. 9-3 ball game, Hopkins by 3. Hyatt, high into right field. Should be no problem out there for the new man, Ciani. He entered into the ball game. Neves will fake the tag and run, and then he came back to second base. That was very close. Very close there, but it's just an out. Fly ball to right field. Sends Eric Hyatt back in the dugout, and now there's 2 outs in the bottom of the 8th inning. It's Gavin Collins. He is 0 for 3. He's actually hit the ball hard twice. One was at the third baseman in the first inning. One was a double play in the third inning that he smoked pretty good. Collins, 2 hits yesterday to go along with 2 on day 1, so it's 4 total in this trip to Cedar Rapids for Gavin Collins. He has really flashed the leather the whole time out here in the state of Iowa. Gavin Collins, I don't know that he's had to make any plays today, though, just looking at the stat sheet. Normally he's very active over there, but I don't know that Collins has really touched the ball too much. He's touching the bat right now, but he's hitting with an 0-2 count as Romano dealing the cards again. That was an off-speed pitch for strike 2. Runners on first and second with 2 outs in the bottom of the 8th inning. Lynchburg down 6. 0-2 count on Gavin Collins. Collins ready. Here's the pitch from Romano, also a ball. I shouldn't say also. It's the first ball of the at-bat. 1-2 count. Gavin Collins is ready again. White batting gloves, long black sleeves, long white pants to go along with the red jersey. Here's the pitch from Romano, left side to the third baseman. A little stumble. He'll have to make a long throw across, and a good scoop over there by Souvenir to get Gavin Collins. They nailed him by half a step, and it was a great dig by Souvenir to snatch that one out of the dirt and to preserve the 6-run lead. Hopkins looking for insurance in their half of the 9th inning. It'll be a new pitcher for Lynchburg. We'll get it to you next. It's Johns Hopkins 9, Lynchburg 3 in Game 2 of Championship Series action in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Travis Shoemate is on to pitch for Lynchburg. They trail 9-3 in the the top of the 9th inning. Hopkins is the home team. See, now I'm getting it all wrong. Let me just start again. Let me just try it one more time here. We're in the top of the 9th inning. Johns Hopkins leads 9-3. The Hopkins Blue Jays are the visiting team in this game. Lynchburg is the home team, so they will get a whack at it in the 8th inning. Lynchburg down by 6. Travis Shoemate is on to pitch for Lynchburg. Another guy the Hornets have not used in a while, but is more than capable. In fact, he was the winner of a pretty prestigious award at Lynchburg during the Lynchburg Athletics Awards ceremony. He got one of the 1% awards given out by our great friend Ed Smith, Assistant Athletic Director and the Director of Strength and Conditioning, who we've been having a great time with on this trip. But yeah, Shoemate, a very hard worker, not just in the weight room, but on the diamond as well. Was injured for part of this season. Travis Shoemate is healthy. He's raring to go, and he's got the ball right here in the top of the 9th, hoping to keep Lynchburg within striking distance. Big swing from Sam Frank, the catcher, but Avery Neves is there, 10 steps in front of the warning track. Comfortable grab for out number 1 of the inning. Trip Myers, the center fielder, coming up. Myers is 1 for 3, but he extended a hitting streak to 14 games. Shoemate pitched in 18 games last season. Earned run average was 3.60. ERA this year is 4.760, and this is appearance number 10. Shoemate is 2-0 on the season. And for his last outing, you have to go back to April 29th. April 29th against Guilford, the last time Travis Shoemate pitched in a game. Again, practice sessions have been great for all of these guys. Another big swing, this time from Tripp Myers. Going to press Avery Neves into service again, and he'll make another catch in left field. So 2 pretty quick outs for Travis Shoemate. And Caleb Sear will be the hitter. He's got an interesting box score so far. He walked, he struck out, walked, struck out. 0 for 2 with 2 punch outs and 2 base on balls. Thought one of Brandon Pond's at-bats against this guy, Caleb Sear. Pond might have pitched around him a little bit, with Lynchburg preferring to go after the next hitter, Jimmy Stevens. Now, Jimmy Stevens does have a double today as well, but Stevens has struck out in his other 3 at-bats. So it seems like maybe Lynchburg has a good pitching plan on these hitters, but you have to execute that plan. Good hitters hit those mistake pitches. Sometimes good hitters hit the ones that aren't mistakes. They're just that good. 1-2 count as Shoemate is going after Caleb Sear. Defense slightly positioned to pull on the designated hitter from Johns Hopkins. Here's the pitch from Shoemate. Breaking ball. Just missed downstairs. And now it's a 2-2 count with 2 outs. It'll be 7-8-9 due up again for Lynchburg. In the bottom of the 9th inning, they will need 6 to tie, 7 to walk it off for a national championship. And don't put that past Lynchburg, folks. Don't just assume the Hornets are gearing up and getting ready for Game 3 later on this afternoon. I think it will be a full-throated comeback attempt from Lynchburg. Full count pitch coming up from Shoemate to Sear. Missed the zone with a fastball. And he will get to first base. So Sear's interesting day continues. All walks and strikeouts so far. This is the second baseman, Jimmy Stevens. The guy I mentioned is 0 for 3, or excuse me, he's 1 for 3 with a double and 3 strikeouts. See what Travis Shoemate could do against Jimmy Stevens. Caleb Sear leads off at first base. There are 2 outs in the top of the 9th. Good breaking ball from Shoemate, missed, and it's ball 1. Need to start gazing the stat sheets and the box scores and see who Johns Hopkins might be thinking about throwing in the if-necessary game. Shoemate, fastball was well inside. Stevens probably could have let that one hit him, but he jumped out of the way. Stevens was the second baseman that wore the Sean Pokerock shot off his ankle or just above the ankle. 2-0 count for Jimmy Stevens. Here's the pitch from Shoemate. That one skips by the catcher, and we'll get to the backstop. Probably a wild pitch there on Travis Shoemate. Yeah, it was ruled that. Count is 3-0 on Jimmy Stevens. Couple arms getting loose for Lynchburg in the bullpen. The preference would be to have Travis Shoemate finish the inning out himself. Maybe he can do that right here. Maybe Jimmy Stevens has a green light. Hopkins up 6, 2 outs, man in scoring position. Not a bad time to turn him loose. Here's the pitch from Shoemate. He will swing it, and this could be a problem for Lynchburg. Jimmy Stevens has sent one over the left field wall. Yeah, I said good time to turn him loose with a green light. That's exactly what Hopkins did, and it paid off for them with 2 more big runs. Second home run of the game for the Blue Jays. This is Jimmy Stevens. 2-run homer. And now the game does feel a bit more out of reach with Johns Hopkins leading by 8. It's an 11-3 ball game. Coaches will tell you bad things can happen when you fall behind a hitter. You get in those good hitters counts. And unfortunately, that was something bad for Lynchburg there. Tip your cap to Jimmy Stevens. He was green lighted, and he made the decision by his coaches pay off. Hopkins with 1 in the first, 1 in the third, 5 in the fifth, and 2 runs in each the 8th and 9th innings to really put this game probably out of reach I say probably, again, it's baseball. And this Lynchburg team knows how to score runs. Anybody need a reminder about 11 straight against Shenandoah at the University of Richmond and ODAC tournament play? Remember that one? It happens. It does happen. But I think it feels, if you're a Johns Hopkins fan, feels more comfortable and feels like the if necessary game has been forced. That'll be the question now. That's probably what the coaches are thinking now for Lynchburg. There's a strikeout from Travis Shoemate. He does get Dylan Whitney swinging for the final out of the inning. So let's see what Lynchburg can do in the bottom of the ninth inning. They trail 11-3. A big comeback could make the national championship trophy seem visible and in reach again, but they will need to get busy early and score a bunch of runs. Bottom of the ninth coming back here in just a moment on LHSN. Jackson Harding leads off the ninth inning for Lynchburg, facing Gabriel Romano. This will be pitch number 132 for Gabe Romano. He has been outstanding, though. Romano has now surrendered 6 Lynchburg hits. He's only walked 1. He's hit 1. And he's struck out 6. 1-1 count on Jackson Harding. Jackson Harding has one of the hits off Gabe Romano. It was back-to-back singles from Harding and Fiedler to begin the second inning. And that was a run-scoring inning for Lynchburg. Remember, at one point, fans, this was a 3-1 Lynchburg lead after 2 complete. Hopkins did score 1 in the third, but the big inning for Johns Hopkins was the 5th inning, a 5 spot there. Lynchburg zeros 3 through 8. The game plan in these situations, as I've said, is actually fairly simple for the offense. It's just don't make an out. Doesn't have to be pretty at this point. Base hit, walk, hit by pitch, error. Play the game hard. Probably got to play station to station. You're not taking any chances out there on the base paths. But get the hard 90 going all the time. And another one there where Romano just threw his hands up in the air because he didn't like the call. That still keeps boggling my mind just a little bit. Full count coming up to Jackson Harding. Here's the pitch, fastball in, and then they get the called strike there. That's what makes it mind-boggling is the pitcher just complained about the strike zone and somehow gets a call, but unfortunately it is a strikeout looking on Jackson Harding. And now a pinch hitter. This is Logan Webster. There's one out in the ninth inning. Lynchburg down by 8. Fastball upstairs. Webster has to dodge that, and it's just a 1-0 count with 1 out. But again, that is the only critique you can find of Gabriel Romano. He has been absolutely outstanding and just what Hopkins needed in this game. Some folks were wondering why the Blue Jays didn't start this man Romano yesterday. Well, you know you're going to have to play at least 2 games. So maybe it doesn't matter if you start this guy in game 1 or game 2. Ground ball got underneath the glove of the second baseman, Jimmy Stevens. That is sure to be an E4. Webster hit it solidly, but that's a play that your second baseman will be expected to make. And now Logan Webster is on. So there's what I talked about. Doesn't matter how you get on, you just have to get on. And Webster has done that. Base running wise, you have to be careful if you're Logan Webster. Your run is insignificant. In fact, Lynchburg would probably need Logan Webster to come up again in this inning to actually have a mathematical chance. Atkins takes the first pitch for a strike right at the knee. And there's 1 out in the bottom of the ninth. It will be a 50-minute break in between games, unless Lynchburg can pull off an improbable comeback. We'll come back and we'll get a new stream going, is the word from our technical, spiritual, and all-around great guy, Tim LaDuca, our fearless leader, I call him. It will be a new stream that we will put out. And if you're familiar, if you're on this YouTube page right now, you can just click on that LHSN logo and take you to our page, and you'll see it pop up there in just a little bit. And we're going to message it all out online. Carson Atkins is hitting with a 2-2 count, and it looks like Atkins has ditched the batting gloves. A little something new there. Sans batting gloves, this at bat for Atkins. You might as well try something. Try anything, I say. Maybe we'll try something different up here in the broadcast. Swing and a miss. It was actually a foul tip, but straight into the catcher's glove, so it's a strikeout. And now Lynchburg is down to their final out. But again, let me reiterate, all is not lost for Lynchburg. They won yesterday, so they have the 1-0 lead and the advantage. If Hopkins, the 1-0 advantage in the series, rather. Johns Hopkins can pull this one off. We get that game 3. We get the if necessary game. It is a best 2 out of 3 series in championship play. So much baseball, so much talking. Hard to enunciate sometimes, but we think you get the gist of it. Ground ball, right side, foul ball. So it will be an 0-2 count for Brandon Garcia, who is 2 for 4 in this game. So make your plans to join us for what's going to be now a winner-take-all Game 3. Someone is walking out of this stadium with a national championship trophy. It'll be their first national championship. That's a similarity for Johns Hopkins and Lynchburg. Neither team has hoisted that trophy in baseball. Here's the pitch from Romano. Oh, Brandon Garcia belts one into right field. Right fielder going back to the track. It hits the wall and stays in. It's going to be at least a double for Garcia. He'll turn around second, triple time. Logan Webster scores. Ball is just kind of in no man's land in between third and home, but Garcia can't take advantage of that. So there's a way to stay alive and also pad those stats a little bit for Brandon Garcia. That's an RBI triple. It was close to being gone. I don't think Lucas Jones wants to use the replay to see if it went out of the stadium or not in this situation. After all, let's say this comeback continues and you get within 1 or 2 runs, you'd like to have that replay then potentially. So Garcia waits at third for Ben Jones. Ben Jones 0-1 count. He is 0 for 4 on the game. Good time for Ben Jones to bust out, get some confidence going for game 2. Good hack there. Fouled it back, and it will be strike 2. Ben Jones might have tweaked something. He asked the umpire for some time. And he's trying to shake some feeling back into the left leg maybe. Well, that's obviously not good news for Lynchburg fans moving forward, or even for this at-bat. See what Ben Jones can do. I don't think it's exactly Kirk Gibson here. He's on one leg or anything. But Ben Jones needed some time to compose himself. He's back in the box now. He will just pound one to left field. Left fielder Cooper going back, and he missed that one. That's down, and it's going to be a double. Cooper had a chance to catch it, but that should be a double by the official scorer. So Lynchburg with back-to-back extra base hits. Here we go. They're building some momentum. This game is not over yet, despite the fact that Lynchburg is down to their final out of the ball game. Lynchburg had not scored a run since the second. They led 3-1 at that point. But they've put 2 across here in the bottom of the 9th inning. Avery Neves is an extra base hit kind of a guy. Maybe he'll join the big party here. 11-5 is the score now. Lynchburg still down 6. But why not get a little bit excited? Why not build some momentum here if you're Lynchburg? That was big for Ben Jones. That's his first hit of the ball game. Garcia's triple was actually his 3rd hit of the game. He continues to impress, doesn't he? He's going to have an off day eventually, but man, Brandon Garcia seems like he is always ready. Hollywood is ready for the spotlight, the big screen. 1-1 count. Avery Neves took an inside fastball. Neves is 0 for 3, did walk one time, also reached on an error. Here's the pitch to Neves, breaking ball for a strike, and now Lynchburg is down to their final strike. 1-2 count with 2 outs. Ben Jones leads off at second base. Not their final strike of the season, however. If Lynchburg loses this one, we go to the winner-take-all, if necessary, game. Here's the pitch from Romano. That was well outside, and a pretty good slide by Sam Frank to keep it off the backstop. $155 pitches for Gabriel Romano. That's a throwback pitch count total right there. 99 of them strikes. That one is just off the plate. Thought he had his 100th strike of the game, but instead it's just a ball. Full count for Avery Neves. Ben Jones at second. Lynchburg down 6, but still with a chip and a chair. 1 strike left. Here it comes from Romano. Foul ball from Avery Neves. We are in the beautiful city of Cedar Rapids, Iowa, the city of 5 seasons, and the 5th season is fun. It has been a fun tournament. Honestly, I'm excited to see another game. I know Lynchburg fans won't want to hear that, but we're getting our money's worth, aren't we? Here comes the pitch. Neves, this is going to be a base hit. Yeah, down past the second baseman. Ben Jones will score. I said I'm excited to see another game. Maybe I need to put that on hold. This Lynchburg team has just gotten 3 consecutive on, and maybe a little shaky for Gabe Romano. Had some defensive plays, including an error on a ball Logan Webster hit that, could have been made. And the bullpen is closed right now for the Blue Jays. I wonder how many more base runners it will take for Lynchburg to get some action in that bullpen. You want Gabe Romano to finish this thing. You'd love to give him the complete game, but you have to win the game. We talked about this in all of Lynchburg's complete games. And if you don't know that, stat fans, look up the game recaps. It was 3 consecutive complete games from Lynchburg pitchers in this tournament. Zach Potts yesterday, Wesley Arrington the game before, and Brandon Pond going back to Saturday. All complete games. Now there is an arm loosening in the bullpen. Back-to-back balls for Gabe Romano. Neves is going to take second because nobody's holding him. That's probably smart, even though, again, his run doesn't really matter, but you take away the potential for a short out at second base. So Neves is on second. 3-0 count as Romano has lost the zone again. Here's the pitch to Sean Pokerock. That one is a strike. It's an 11-6 ball game. Lynchburg down 5, but feels slightly real now. There are 2 outs, though. The odds probably still favor the team that has a 5-run lead in this situation. I know they favor the team that has a 5-run lead in this situation. No doubt about that. Neves moves to third. No throw over there. They'll call that one defensive indifference, not a stolen base. Same thing with the one at second. Full count again. Sean Pokerock trying to keep Lynchburg's hopes alive. Swing and miss, and that will be the ball game. Gabe Romano, 164 pitches of outstanding baseball to get Johns Hopkins in the winner-take-all game. They have forced the if-necessary game. It's a best 2 out of 3 series. Lynchburg, they won 5-2 yesterday. Johns Hopkins holds on for an 11-6 win here in Game 1 of the day, Game 2 of the series. And we will take about a 45-minute break, and we will bring it back on LHSN, and we will try to set the stage as best we can for what is going to be one of the epic all-time baseball games. Lynchburg and Johns Hopkins. Something's got to give between these 2 ball clubs. They've split the first 2, and the series winner will be a national championship winner. We hope you can come back and join us. We'll take a little breather here, and then we'll restart a new stream. So make sure you are listening. First pitch for the next game is probably going to be right around 2:50 Central Time. That means 3:50 over there for all of our listeners on the Eastern Seaboard in the Eastern Time Zone. Kyle Haney saying so long for just a bit, but make sure you come back and join us. Johns Hopkins wins it 11-6. We're going to a winner-take-all national championship game. It's coming up next. You can hear all the action live on the Lynchburg Hornets Sports Network.